we're now into the month of May, and as some of you might know, my birthday's in May. I got to choose all the.
Woo!
Thank you. And
Happy early birthday.
I did not choose a filmography like Jason did, but I did choose something that has a theme. It's not one specific person's body of work in terms of filmmaking, but it is one person's body of work in terms of writing. All of the movies that I've chosen for the month of May are Stephen King adaptations. We're calling this month Stevens, because I hate it.
Stevens.
Creation. And I didn't necessarily choose movies that are the best Stephen King adaptations or the most critically acclaimed Stephen King adaptations, or even ones that are the most popular.
This one was up there. I gotta give it to you.
It's a good movie. And so what I did instead was I chose 4 or 5 movies for the month of May that had some sort of impact on me personally, either as a teenager or a child. Stephen King movies that stuck in my brain, basically. Stuck in my craw, if you will. Things that I think about often, or I will quote lines from without realizing, or...
Can I just, sorry, one sec. I'm hearing myself.
Is it me?
Oh, shit. My headphones went off.
Hello? Okay, that's good.
What up, everyone? We're awesome at this.
I hope that my whole explanation wasn't echoed.
No, it was just whenever I was talking, it was echoing.
I see. So, yeah, we're doing a full month of Stephen King adaptations. I'm a little bit of a horror science fiction dweeb, so you're going to see some similarities between the movies throughout the month. But I hope that the two of you enjoy most of them. I haven't seen some of these movies for a very long time, but like I said, they are movies that I think about often. And I'm thinking about that motorcyclist in the background right now.
Maybe that's your booze delivery.
He's probably got a giant dick. Yeah, maybe he's got my beard. So, the first of our 5 Stephen King movies, or Stephen King adaptations, I should say, is the movie, the 1991 book, but I believe the movie came out in 1993.
I think it might have been 94, but yeah.
Was it?
93.
I was right. Kaylin was wrong.
I also was right.
Yeah.
You looked it up. You were right. You were just...
No, dude, they say at the end when he's like, I'll see you in 63 years. It's because it's,
yeah.
Or I'll see you in 2053.
Yo, Needful Things 2 coming 2053.
The Jakarta Accords.
They better make it. We'll all be on ventilators with like the 18th variation of COVID.
We'll be on our 30th, or we'll be on our... What are we right now?
Don't worry about doing math in your brain. So, this movie, it is called Needful Things. It is obviously based on a Stephen King novel, but it is also a entertaining movie, I would say. I will start with my first introduction to this movie, and that would be on TV as a kid. I didn't watch the full TV version. There is another version of this movie that's about 4 hours long that was edited for TV specifically. I have not watched that version, though I would be interested to see it because there's a lot of characters in this movie, and it would be nice to see a little bit more development from those characters.
I vouch for it.
I saw it on TV as a kid, and I was reintroduced to it in my early 20s by a guy that I worked with who once asked me, have you ever seen the movie Needful Things? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And then he let me borrow it, and I took it home and was like, that was sick. I liked it.
On VHS?
No, it was a DVD. I was in my early 20s. It wasn't like 1996. So I saw it mostly when I was a kid, but like my true introduction to this was in my early 20s, and I thought it was a compelling watch. It's one of those movies that even if you're not fully invested in everything that's happening, you do want to see where it's going. From the moment it starts, you're like, what's happening? Oh, he's evil? Sick. And then you get to the end and you're like, I hope he dies. And then you think he does, but then he doesn't. And yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of this movie from my childhood, but I have more from my early 20s when I saw it for the second time. And with that, I'll toss it over to Kaylin. Kaylin, when was your first encounter with Needful Things?
Oh, hello. My first encounter with Needful Things was what's today? Thursday? Was Monday, 3 days ago. 4 days? 3 days. 3 days
Well,
ago?
I'm excited to hear what you thought
I
on your first viewing.
It was so upon my first. So I did 2.5, well, 2 1/3 viewings. So I did a fresh, just first experience, take it in viewing. Then I did a second, take it in again, but also kind of just look at things and make notes of things and whatnot. And then today, after you mentioned the extended cut version, television series version, I found like a stream of it on YouTube or something, and I was watching that. I really didn't get a chance to watch it very much. I got about an hour in, and that was my 2 15-minute breaks and my 30-minute break, basically. For that chunk of it, though, there definitely was a little more development with some other characters, as well as setting up some of the later scenes that come up, which
this whole movie is basically setups and payoffs. Like that's the whole idea behind it. Yeah.
I was definitely, and I messaged you guys. Oh, something stopped.
What?
It said recording stopped. I think it's on the Zoom or the Twitch or whatever. I don't know.
Sorry, guy. Hold on a
stuff your
second.
stories in a sack.
I'll stuff my butt in my butt. I'm going to just double check that my computer has enough room.
You need an external hard drive?
I have one.
I got one somewhere. Oh, here it is right here. I got one.
Yeah, I have 171 gigs free. Why do you not record the computer?
Close my door. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. It's going again.
Perfect timing. We're good. He's going to get his booze. He was asking about my initial viewing, though, and I messaged you guys.
You got to fill up 5 more minutes because he has to go down the elevator. Hopefully not get stuck in the elevator. Steve will probably tell the story better than I will, and he'll tell it later on the show. Steve got stuck in the elevator for 5 hours yesterday.
We'll do a callback. Apparently, it wasn't because he is a child like myself who likes to jump and shake elevators when they're on them.
Yeah.
But I messaged you guys. I did find this movie very, I guess, captivating would be the word, maybe. Like I wanted, like Steve was just saying, like I wanted to know what was going to happen next. It also, I think we talked about what kind of defines a movie versus a film, right? Mm-hmm. This feels like a film, but it has the elements like, there actually was in the extended cut a car chase, and then there's explosions and stuff like that, right? But it feels like I'm watching a book, like it you know what I mean, as opposed to watching a movie. Like it for some reason it just has that rich kind of story building, character building somehow, without in a weird way though. I don't even know how to describe it exactly, but like it just felt robust and like detailed or whatever, as opposed to just like a movie with bangs and flashes and whatnot.
It definitely feels robust for sure. I wasn't gone at all.
You get your beer?
I got my beer.
And that was my first viewing.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was excited for you guys to see this one in particularly because I'm sure you've probably seen the other ones, or at least know of their existence.
The Dreamcatcher one I haven't seen, so that's going to be a new one as well for me.
Jason, how about yourself?
I have only seen the new It movies when it comes to Stephen King.
Really? Okay. So
I didn't bother watching this one at all. I just watched it again.
I watched it for the first time today, luckily, I sat down and watched it. It wasn't one of those like I had it on while I was working or I had it on in the background or I wasn't too tired. I watched it at like 2 o'clock this afternoon. I sat and watched it. Um, it so what it inspired me to do was read about like what this movie is, and apparently this is the first book Stephen King wrote in 1991 after he came back from rehab. Stephen King is a notorious
coke-free Stephen King,
cocaine freak.
Whoa, he likes Coke?
Well, he famously quit drinking
I thought
alcohol.
I remember something about being like alcoholic or whatever, but
he famously quit drinking alcohol with Coke. But then
well, they go hand in hand.
They absolutely do. Not that I would know. But then he spiraled out so bad that he had to go to rehab. I don't know if he I don't know if he ended up going back on Coke or whatever, but he very famously was a
Coke I remember
fiend.
reading like
that's why a lot of his stories are wackadoo.
Yeah, I remember reading that he wrote it like he locked himself in an attic with like a case of bourbon and just a giant bag of cocaine and like wrote.
That sounds dope. That actually kind of sounds dope.
Sounds like an insane thing to do. He's by himself, Kaylin. He's not talking to anybody. He's just talking to a typewriter.
The other thing too that I know about Stephen King is that he loves to self-insert. And in this movie, I think that Danforth was the self-insert. No, Danforth Keaton.
Oh, Keaton. Buster.
Keaton?
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, I'll keep this short and I'll get into it more in the body of the episode, but the reason why I think that is because the character kind of looks like what all the other self-inserts he puts in movies that are supposed to be him. And also the guy has like a bunch of issues with rage, a bunch of issues with gambling, which is another vice that's equally as bad as coke addiction.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed this movie. I have to do this more thesis style because I don't really have a background with this movie or Stephen King in general, for that matter. I just know stuff about him.
Have either of you read this book?
No.
I don't know how to read.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to read.
No, I've read a couple of Stephen King books, but I don't particularly enjoy his writing style. I like his stories. I think all of his stories are very interesting and cool, and like you would think that I would be very into him as a writer, but it is the fact that his writing style is very much like the narrator is Stephen King. Like it's like an opinionated person telling you a story, being like, "This is what I think about The Shining." As I read
this movie felt like, well, I guess I've seen Stand By Me, which is a Stephen King story. It did have that, like, it's got levity, it's got really dark moments, like both of the new It movies. I imagine they're redone,
like chapter 1, chapter 2, or whatever.
Yeah. This felt very much like that, where he does these things that are horror, but they're not. Much like Stand By Me had moments that are horror, but they're not, like showing a dead body. In this,
right?
When Wilma, I think her name is, the woman that lives on the turkey farm, she comes home and everything's covered in mud. That scene is played like she walks around the corner and takes an axe to the face, like in an actual horror movie. Yeah. And she's freaking out.
Oh, right.
And the musical stings are very horror. And Stephen King kind of does that, but he'll mix in levity. And it really reminded me of the John Carpenter movies, but those movies get really wild, like they get really weird. At a certain point, there's a turning point, and they get really bizarre. This is like the devil has come to town, and he's trading souls basically for like needful things. And those needful things are these items that basically zap you and fucking you're like addicted and possessed by them.
It's stuff that people think they need to make or things they believe these items
their desires
are going to bring them
happiness.
Yeah.
But it's always, there's a cost, right? And that felt very like, I kept bringing up the movie Thinner, which I've never actually watched, but the premise is that this guy hits then they were called gypsies, but he hits a Roma, basically a street person who puts a gypsy curse, and I don't know how to say it.
You don't say that.
It's fine. Listen,
what it's called in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, he puts this guy, this like businessman who looks like Danforth, another like self-inserty kind of character. He hits a homeless guy, and then the wife puts a curse on him to make him get Like he's a big fat
The
guy. And he
homeless
gets
guy had
thinner
a
and
wife, or the guy?
yeah, the homeless guy and his wife are like two street people, gypsy people.
Yeah.
And he hits a woman, or he hits the husband. Then she puts a curse on him that makes him like get thinner and thinner, and that's the Stephen King.
You're telling
cool.
me this movie called Thinner is about a guy getting thinner?
Yeah.
Wow. I never would have thought that.
And I always think about that because it's such a fucking dumb premise, but it's a Stephen King premise. And
it sounds pretty good.
Well, it's like the Family Guy joke where Stephen King's in a publisher's office, and they're like, "So, Stephen, what do you have for you now?" And he's like, "A bunch of teenagers go into a wood and they get attacked by a lamp monster." Oh. It's like, yeah, okay.
I love lamp.
Like Stephen King can basically like weave a story about really anything if he puts it into it. Right?
Cujo's a ridiculous idea for a story, but it works and it's scary.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to just throwing darts at random things and then just picking whatever they hit, but just making them connect nicely. But I'm fine with that. I can see that leading to some great stories.
Well, there's a horror movie that's literally about a killer tire.
Yeah, it's called Rubber.
Why does that sound familiar? Does it bounce as it goes?
Yes, of course. How the hell would it go around if it didn't?
Well, it could just roll, but it would be more menacing if it was bouncing.
Yeah, if it just rolls, that's not a horror movie. That's like a romantic comedy. So back to the movie Needful Things, the movie we're discussing right now. Let me just do a quick little synopsis. It is about the sleepy town of Castle Rock, Maine. A new store has opened up, and because it's such a small town, everybody knows each other very well. And the opening of a new store catches everyone's attention, and word spreads quickly in the town of Castle Rock that a store called Needful Things has opened. And
at the end of the summer season,
we're introduced to it's the end of the summer. We're introduced to a little boy whose name I have forgotten. Is it Billy? Brian.
He reminded me of you for some reason. Not
Brian
like
Husk.
For any specific reason. Maybe it's the dirty blonde hair and the boyish good looks. But for some reason, I just thought of you while I was watching it.
Yeah, a lot of people think that I look like a little boy with a mustache. So Brian goes into the store. One of the great things about this movie is that every time a new person goes into the store, the interior completely changes to reflect items that they might be interested in, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. But Brian is very into baseball, and the man Leland Husk, the owner of the store, offers him a Mickey Mantle signed baseball card, to which he is not able to pay for, but instead takes it for a favor to Mr. Leland Gaunt, which also great bad guy name.
He tried to sell him up on a pair of Jordan 7s.
Yeah, Jordan.
He already had a pair of Jordan 7s, though. They were just a different colorway. Yeah.
Before you know it, everybody in the town in some way or another has gone into Needful Things and traded favor for an item that they believe that they cannot be without. And these favors all eventually start to pin every member of the town against one another, but not directly. It's like passing the buck from one person to the next, where everybody is messing with somebody else that in one way causes them to think that another person is doing it, and the entire town essentially begins to hate each other to the point that they start killing each other. And Leland Gaunt just like slowly starts checking names off as people are dying, becoming more powerful or satisfied. I'm not really sure if he's gaining power from this or if he just really, really likes doing it.
I think more souls. I think that it's literally the transfer of soul thing, because every time somebody dies, they did something horrible to somebody else, and you go to hell if you murder, right?
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of deceitful shit. So I think it's a new way of telling I'll sell your soul for something you absolutely love.
Except he's not like, I need your soul. He's like, no, you have to do something for me.
He did make a comment, though. He said something about, I left before they knew what I bought or something when he was telling, I think he was telling Brian.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like very right down the barrel, like I'm the devil stuff, where it's like,
and they're not.
He literally says that he knew Jesus at one point. And you're like,
they're not like they're not like straight up like you'll get rich or you'll get famous soul cells either, which is weird. I thought that Danforth's story arc was going to be he got that little toy
horse race,
the tin racing set thing,
and I they kept showing him like doing it. He was just having a good time.
I thought he was figuring out who would
I thought
win,
he was figuring out who's going to win, and that was going to be a plot point. But honestly, like that guy was just driven mad. Like he was just became old Buster Keaton, friend of the show, callback was just driven crazy by his item.
He was actually probably my favorite character.
Well, he was awesome. He was
he's probably the most compelling character. He is like the foil for everything.
The foil,
right? Like, nothing really escalates to the point that it does at the end.
In Final Fantasy games, there's always a main antagonist, but then there's always somebody that bugs you throughout the whole game, and that Danforth really felt like that character.
You hate him, and then by the end, you sort of feel bad for him, and you're like, well, I guess he gets a redemption by
He's got two sides.
Well, sort of.
No one's one-dimensional.
Leland Gaunt just gets off, and he's like, well, on to the next town, I suppose.
How come Nettie's thing... So it seemed like everyone's Needful thing gave them good memories, but Nettie's little trinket, kid trinket thing or whatever... made her reminded her of like her husband that beat her or some shit, which is the one that I didn't understand.
The way I read that was that she's thinking about before he smashed everything, and how he was probably a good husband to a point.
I interpreted it as all of her shit got smashed. Like literally all of her trinkets got smashed.
That was like the last time she had it.
Yeah, she got one back, and she loved those more than anything because I think they had like an autistic-esque character in this.
Was she special?
Well, they coded it like that.
Am I allowed to say that? Is that not?
That's kind of offensive.
No, not special. You can use the real terms these days.
Yeah, you can just say mental deficit. Does she have a mental deficit?
I think learning impaired. Anyway, she clearly.
I don't think she's dumb. I think she's
I think she's
twisted from the fact she murdered her husband.
Well, she had what?
She killed her husband.
I missed that. What?
Yeah, she killed him because he fucking beat her a bunch.
They just show the flashback of all her shit smashing and then her crying.
Pretty sure that she killed him.
I remember he died. Something about getting stabbed or something.
I guess where is he?
It was like mysterious circumstances, or it was she killed him because he was beating her, and she killed him in self-defense.
Is it possible that you watched a different version than I watched also? Because if there's a 3-hour cut, there could be a version.
Maybe,
so far, the 3-hour cut is dope, and I recommend you guys watch it if you like this.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Kaylin, because at the end, the guy with the treasure. Well, the guy. I just want to know. Once you finish watching it, they just bring back the guy with the Treasure Island book thing, and then he's like attacking a guy, and the guy
he took my first edition.
The guy that he's attacking was not in the movie up to that point.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, there are. It does develop more of the
I feel like
characters.
you see more of the feuds in the longer version. That's probably
interesting because you think, we only got to see 5 or 6 of these sort of interwebbed interactions.
But the whole town was fucking rioting and pillaging at the end.
Although
the guy pulls a chainsaw. He smashes the window and pulls a chainsaw,
and then hands it off to Brian's mom. That was Brian's mom, by the way.
Yeah, that was Brian's mom. That weird.
I wrote her down as the loose lady of Castle Rock.
Who's like in the background. She's just in the background in like a million scenes.
She has more in the extended cut.
When Danforth is all fucked up at the bar, like she's with him for some reason.
They're both sitting at the bar. I'm not sure if they're with each other.
They're right next to each other, and he's like saying everything to her. So I just assumed that it was they're inferring that he's not really faithful to his wife. But I think that there's a lot of Stephen King adaptations that have been turned into TV shows, and I think that this would make an excellent television show, even if you just followed all of the characters you see in this movie. There's enough there for like 10 episodes.
One for each episode. Like each character gets their own episode would be dope. And I think that was kind of the intention when this movie originally came out, because I guess that was kind of there was popularity or whatever with his stuff getting turned into miniseries at the time.
Oh yeah. There's like one moment where I'm like, that seems like it was put in the movie specifically to cut to commercial. Like, there's a moment where he's like, Leland Gaunt is on the right at the front door of the store, and he's about to close the door, and he goes, "Yes, sir, we're having fun now." Like, oh man, That's
Was
like
there
Well, I'm
anything in that
curious.
it's a
name?
black moment. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just saying, I'm curious. There's a show called Castle Rock, and
Yes.
the show is supposed to sort of combine all the stories. Or I'm wondering if there's a Needful Things episode or
There isn't.
characters.
Oh, that
Did you
sucks.
watch
This
it?
is dope.
I've watched it. Yeah, I've watched
They
So is it-
every. I've seen literally everything that Stephen King's name is attached to.
So maybe just touch on that a little bit, because I know a couple stories. A lot of the stories happen in a place called Castle Rock, and it's in like northern Maine.
Yeah, no.
And Shawshank Redemption is there.
Stand by Me.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry.
The
Actually, I think
Castle
it was-
Rock. Stand by Me takes place close to Castle Rock. They mentioned
Yeah.
Castle Rock in Stand by Me at one point. But the show Castle Rock is its own story. It's not like taking small. It's not like one episode is the Christine episode and one episode is the Cujo episode. It's just like it's its own
In the
story.
universe?
It takes place in the universe, and like
Yeah.
there's elements that seem like it's inferring to other stuff, but it's not. It's not
Like
like
Bill Skarsgård is literally like the main character.
Yo, is there anything behind the name Leland Gaunt? I'm not a good anagram person or whatever, but did you
I
guys?
just took it as like gaunt means like you're like tall and lanky.
Oh,
and it-
well, I mean, gaunt, when you think of the word gaunt, you think of sickly, skinny,
Yeah.
skeletal. You think of something kind of like not nice looking. That gaunt is
Right.
not if someone describes you as gaunt, it's not a compliment.
And
What about
Leland
though?
is a very old name, I feel like. There's also a
Ah.
scene where he's sort of naming off places he's been, and I'm
Mhm.
surprised he didn't say, I've also been known as many names. But that
Right.
might have been a little bit too on the nose.
Too much of a hat.
There's a
trick.
couple of times where I'm like, yes, okay, movie, we know that he's the devil. You don't.
You could have made
literally
it-
shove
you-
it up my butt.
Yeah, you
On
could have
my
made it a
first
little
watch, it
bit.
took me a minute. I was like, man, this guy is kind of a dick.
I
The
love
nails,
when he,
though?
I love when he
Nails
like
are a good
speaks
one.
German to the dog, and the dog immediately obeys him. He's like, "You seem to." It's just like.
I also felt like when Alan finds all those newspapers in the basement, this dude runs an oddities store. He could just have all these newspapers like saved, or not saved, but they could be antiques. It only
Right.
goes back to like the 40s.
No,
It's
it
the
goes back to
90s.
the 1800s.
Oh, did it?
There's a line
Okay.
in the movie where the deputy is like, he can't be here for all of these. Like, this one's from 1893. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
He runs an oddities shop. He could just have
Yeah.
those like to sell. Like they could be
Well, that's
antiques.
kind of like the voice of reason of the wife, where she's like,
Yeah.
You're crazy. Like, he's not a monster. He's like, he is. He's literally a monster.
He's Brian's monster. Like you weren't there for. I wasn't there for that conversation. What are you talking about, Brian's monster?
Yeah. He gave me a necklace that made my hands not hurt anymore. I kind of like him.
Yeah, and then
And then they got
Kinda
it
bang.
on.
Yeah.
Do you think they full on banged?
Her exchange was that she had to have sex with him, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
She didn't have to do anything horrible.
Yeah,
And
she didn't
he-
pay any. Yeah, she didn't
Except
do a prank,
have
did
sex
she?
with the devil.
She
That's
didn't
pretty
have-
horrible.
Yeah,
there could be a sequel where she's pregnant with the devil's
I thought
son.
there was going to
who,
be something there. Like he wanted to try and make her
That-
his.
That's why he referenced the grandson. I'm
Yeah.
gonna meet your grandson in Jakarta in 2053.
Bob will be his name.
See you later. Back into my German car.
So I looked it up, and the actual fallen angel,
Who, Lucifer, Morningstar.
the one that trades souls, is fuck, I had it here. It's Balthazar.
That sounds familiar.
Balthazar!
But then there's other demons, and some of them represent the like sins. And there's Lucifer for pride, Beelzebub for envy, Satanas which is Satan, for wrath, Abaddon for sloth, Mammon for greed,
What about Gabriel?
Belphegor, that's an archangel, I think.
Damn.
Belphegor
Cameron's just
is
saying
gluttony,
names that he heard one time.
and Asmodeus is
Love
lust. Well,
Michael.
most of these I've heard of because of the band Ghost, and they have a song that lists all of them. It's like Lucifer,
Those are the skeleton
Asmodeus.
priest-looking guys, right?
Yeah.
With there's a song where they play it like a school talent show. I really like that song.
Yeah, that's Siri.
Yeah.
Cirrus. I've never known how to, but I've seen them 4 times.
Nice.
They're my
Were they the
favorite
ones
band.
that splurted blood all over you or something like that?
That never happened to me.
Oh, well, what am I thinking of?
Who
Never
squirted
mind.
blood all over me?
So it might have been my buddy Towns. He went to someone's concert and they like.
Squire. That's Squire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, I digress. Oh, can I say one technical thing that I really liked when I at the very beginning?
That's what we're here for, Kalen.
Okay. So did you guys notice? So, well, I'll do one negative, but then I'll do a positive, end on a positive.
Okay.
So the opening shot of his Mercedes driving, to Castle Rock or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was crooked. It was crooked, and it pissed me off so much.
The Mercedes, like
the angle. No, like the angle, like the camera or whatever. It was
okay.
It wasn't centered.
Was it a Dutch angle though, or was it an accident? Because
maybe they were trying to do it to
intentional.
hide the camera. But the positive that I'll give them from a technical, I could not see the camera in the chrome bumper. You know what I mean? Like usually you can see the shit, right? So, and I don't know how good, like, I'm not sure.
That didn't exist.
CGI and shit,
CGI, right? And that was my next point. That lightning effect that they do in this movie is in every fucking sci-fi 80s movie and 90s movie.
This is like
in every single one of them.
Of that sort of like rear projection and whatever it's called when you just like etch onto the film like special effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is it a rotoscope?
Rotoscoping? Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. Yeah.
That's when you like animate over live.
Yeah, it's like you literally like paint onto the film. Like, and then the year after this, Jurassic Park, where they just they crack the code. Like,
booyah!
Yeah.
We'll do large minute. We'll do full size.
This is probably a very low
animatronic
movie.
Mini animatronic.
I love.
They're not going to have a ton of money.
It felt very made for TV movie, and I think I was wondering if this cut that I watched that was 2 hours was a theatrical cut, and is it a 3-hour version or a 4-hour version that was for TV? Is it 3 hours?
I heard 4, but it might be 3. Yeah, it's like 3. With commercials, it's like
with commercials, it would be
That'd be like 4 hours. Yeah, that'd be 4 hours. Yeah. Cool. I really appreciate how big the story feels for how small the town is.
Yeah, this is a thing that I really enjoy about a lot of Stephen King works, especially in film, is like they give you the feeling of an actual town, but the town feels limited. It doesn't feel like it goes on forever, and it really gives you that sort of video gamey feel of like I know everybody in this town, and they know me, and we all know each other.
Yeah, they all feel like turned up to 11 versions of real people, like Wilma and Hugh. Like, you've met those people, especially me and Kaylin living in Halifax. Like, those are the fucking barflies and Freemans.
Myself included.
And they also give you because the characters are so caricaturized, you feel like you understand them very surfacely. Like it's like you're introduced to a person and you immediately kind of get their deal.
The point.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the shitty wife who like married some dingo who doesn't understand anything.
Hey Wilma,
he's like, I love her.
The windows are broken.
I think we'll have turkey tonight. You want turkey every night.
The windows are broken.
Yeah. And she's just a vile
the
bitch.
Worst.
I hate her so much.
I love that though, and that he's so oblivious that when the kid's literally busting up one side of their house with apples, he's just like doesn't even look up.
Feeding turkeys,
like you can't hear that. You can't hear all of the windows in your house smashing.
Do you know how loud gobbling is?
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I like even just that random lady at the start. She's like, "Aren't you supposed to be at school?" It's like, mind your own business.
Got a cold.
Yeah, I got a cold. Yeah.
But he's out biking. Like, come on.
Yeah, I knew that he was lying. It was funny. It was a funny moment. There's a lot of like really wild
got a
shit,
cold
in this movie. Like when you watch it, like when the priest comes in and the whole room is transformed into just like tits everywhere, and he's like, oh my, and he leaves with a huge bag of stuff. Like it's just a bunch of like weird sex stuff.
I would have been extra great if he left with the giant picture because he points at it and then.
Yeah.
Then he clearly left with the Mayan penis.
Yeah.
Giant
show that in his butt later for sure. What do you want to say?
What's up with priests and reverends? Are they not both men of God?
Well, no,
different religions?
The father was a Catholic, or Yeah, and then the other guy was a Baptist, which I think is Christian.
It's like a subsect of Christianity.
Don't those come down from the same?
No, yes, but Christian.
Like, so does like Judaism, man. Like so many religions are like based in the same thing.
But Christians and Catholics are like antitheses of one
They're
another.
literally, Kaylin, in Ireland, there are literal wars still fought over Catholicism.
Ireland? I thought booze was their god.
Nope.
Oh my God, racism! Get out!
What year do you live in?
For you, Kaylin. Now
I'm part Irish. I'm allowed to say that. I love booze.
Oh, okay. I'll allow it then. Hello, cancel the paddy wagon, please.
Stay on.
It's very complicated, but yeah, in Ireland there are people that just get shot in the head for being the wrong type of Jesus follower.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird, and it's scary and terrifying, and nobody should live that way.
And to put it more in perspective for you, Kaylin, a reverend is more like a televangelist type who does the over the top sermons.
Don't like it.
And a father is more of like just reading the Bible out loud and relating it to your life.
More
they also
traditional
follow different
almost or
Bibles.
something.
There's like the Old Testament and the New Testament, and Catholicism is the Old Testament, and Christianity is the New Testament.
Okay.
It's like Bible light. It's like we got rid of some stuff.
What if they only follow like one of the chapters? What if they only follow Mark?
You know, there's lots of
talk about religion.
baby killing.
I hate.
You were talking about the devil, though, Steve. We're talking about literally the devil.
The cool part of religion, demon.
It's true. Hail Satan. I like it. I like it when he's like, "Well, I suppose. Do you believe in the devil?" And he's like, "Well, I suppose there has to be the devil. If I kind of have to believe in that."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, the devil's in our town right now." He's like, "Well, there is evil in Castle Rock." He's like, "No, the devil."
He gave me this
outside.
I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the Holy Grail. He sold him the Holy Grail.
Exactly.
I have this item you might be.
He's coveting it, just like staring at it, like he sees it. Absolutely.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So the devil won a few battles. I think it's fair to say he didn't win the war of this little town.
No, I think the implication.
It's a game.
He got like 3.
He's
playing 3 out of 20.
I feel like the implication of Alan finding those newspaper headlines were the devil was there for all of those horrible things, and he did them.
Yeah,
he did Hiroshima, and he did he shot the Italian dude in the throat for World War I, and other things.
Or he got people to do it, because I think that's the whole thing with the devil is that he's not supposed to interfere directly. He can manipulate people to do stuff that will cause their soul to become his, but he can't be like, bam, shoot a guy in the head and be like, now your soul's mine. Otherwise he'd just be walking around with a machine gun constantly. And we know he has them. Remember when that guy comes in and the whole room is just full of guns? He just gives him like a shotgun. I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Well, maybe
I wish that he had like bandoliers of bullets like on his chest, like a camo hat. Like, I supplied the Amazon. Yeah, it's crazy.
Speaking of that, you never see a guy with a bomb vest on anymore. That was definitely a thing you saw in movies, action movies all the time in the 80s and 90s. You don't really...
Because it became a comedy trope. As soon as the Simpsons makes fun of it, it's like, okay, now it's just comedic. Like, unless it's like the person has the vest and they immediately blow up, there's not going to be a standoff with a guy, because it's goofy, right? Like at this point, it's just funny. Like, my God, are those hot dogs? Armor hot dogs? What kind of man wears armor hot dogs? I like it though, right? Like it's cheesy for sure, but while you're watching it, you're like, I love this cheesy shit. I love it. This guy has a bomb vest on. So good.
I actually have the other Lethal Weapons, and I have the Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3 that I want to watch.
You don't have what?
I already saw it. I watched it a couple years ago.
Oh, they're on your list.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
We did Lethal Weapon as one of our.
No. I thought you said
shows.
I have Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3. Like, how are you going to have 2 and 3 and not have 1?
Well, wasn't very good.
What?
It was probably a great movie in the 80s. It's a lot of Eddie Murphy. Like, his comedy doesn't really translate to...
Beverly Hills Cop, no, yeah.
Yeah, not Beverly Hills Ninja.
1 was good.
It was fine.
It's fine. Move on.
It was fine.
But
We
that's
don't
not
need to
what we're
argue
here
about
for.
that movie
Yo,
right now.
can we talk about Paula and her cliche? So when she said it to myself, I said every woman ever. But she's like looking at a picture of herself, like, oh, my butt's so big.
Oh, I thought she was saying that her butt looks good in the photo. She's like,
Yeah,
No,
she's like,
she
I
was-
wish my
she
butt
didn't
still
like
looked
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
back
thought
You
it
mean
was
Polly?
like
women
she was
didn't like
longing
big
for the
butts.
days when her butt looked good or whatever. But yeah, no, I wasn't really paying too much attention. I was focused more on how
Polly
hot
was
Ed
a
Harris
really-
is.
Polly
Like,
was a really
damn, Ed Harris is hot.
He's got a
Polly-
captivating face, I'll give you that.
Polly was a really interesting looking main lead actress. Also, I thought they made a good
Casting.
couple. But my problem was that they didn't. The story was their love story was kind of stupid because it starts with him having a ring and showing everybody that he has a ring, and then he proposes to her at the diner, and then they don't really talk to each other throughout the movie. Like they didn't seem they had bad charisma with each other.
It was like they were trying to have their cake and eat it. Where it's like we want there to be an existing love between these characters, but we don't want to spend time showing.
In the
it.
extended cut, for the parts that I saw, there is some more of that.
I was gonna ask.
Right.
I was gonna ask if there's a little bit more because it seems like it's so funny to think we have all those conversations about like what if there was in the script, what if things make it to the cutting room floor? But we're literally in a situation where the main theatrical cut that me and Steve and Kaylin too, I guess, we watched was a cohesive movie, but there's a lot left to the imagination that is in literally an hour longer extended cut.
You don't need it, but it does add more life to it, right? Like you can get main points out of what we saw, but
and like the problem with movies like this is that we already know that he's bad, like right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when he's like
there was actually a car chase at the
beginning.
beginning. It doesn't start the way that it starts.
His hands are all fucked up, and like he's got literal claws, and his teeth are all nasty when he's in secret. And it's like, so we as the audience, like, we know this guy's some twisted entity, but nobody in the town does. So it's like we've already made a discovery that the characters are not aware of. So to us, everybody's an idiot. We're like, yeah, stupid. Don't you know he's the devil, you idiot? Yeah. So like, what
to that end though, like, how come nobody? I guess he's having individual conversations with everybody. They don't know that they're doing tasks for him, but everybody's walking around with the shit that they like, especially when Hugh's rolling around with his jacket. How come nobody questioned? Am I the only person until the very end when Alan breaks open the case and he's like, who else has done things for this man? And everybody's like,
I did.
If somebody would have just asked,
Island.
yeah. Oh, okay, and then it's fine. There's literally like 6 casualties.
Brian,
6 people die.
Like, all right, I planted that money on your boat. I'm sorry. He's the only one who apologizes.
I'm sorry, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
Brian's mom wanted the Elvis sunglasses she was wearing.
It's the thing. That's the other thing is like I want to know what every single person in that town
Right?
got. You know, like, that's the fun of the movie, right? Is like the best parts are when people are getting the item that they like, and you're like, what the fuck?
I think this actually would be better in the
idiot
series.
thinks that a jacket is gonna make him happy again.
Yeah.
I can understand that though. That's like there's it's attached to a memory. There's a you know what I mean. It's not the jacket itself. It's the memory tied to it.
Well, he says that was the best hour of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't think
you get in
I
a
have
car crash or something?
favorite
What the fuck
hour of
happened?
my life yet. Maybe I'll have one day, but
Let's go to start a new corner. What was your favorite? Well, we know Kaylin's. It was that time that he drank fucking chocolate milk or whatever.
What?
You told that story. I was like, what day would you want to live over and over? And it's a story you've told on the show before, where you and your
stole the
buddies.
limo? Oh yes, and just wait. What?
Wait, back it up. You
Are we
stole a
not talking about the
limo.
same thing?
you
No.
conveniently left that part out of the chocolate milk story.
Are you talking
Oh, I
about when
forgot
I
the
was at
limo
the
and the chocolate
casino
milk?
and I ordered like a pitcher of chocolate milk, a pitcher of
Yeah.
orange juice?
Yes.
Yeah. So we got to the
The
casino
weirdest
through,
shit I've ever heard in my life.
through the
a
limo
pitcher
that I
of
stole.
orange juice. I'd be so upset as a bartender.
Because it's good. It tastes good.
It's true. It does taste good.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying
I
I would be like pouring like 3 containers of orange juice into one pitcher. I would just bring you the whole bottle of orange juice over and be like, here.
It was
Pay
at
me
a
$10.
casino, so it was probably
like
free,
little
right?
pictures.
Orange juice is free at a casino.
It was all you can eat. Yeah, it was all you
Well,
can
drinks
eat.
are free.
He was like, no, like it was food and drinks were all you could eat, drink, whatever. And Buddy was like, oh, well, what if I just, give you a drink when you want one? I'm like, well, what if instead of me calling you over every few minutes, you just give me a picture of...
Yeah, I remember the story.
Did he then pull? Did he pull you close? And when he touched you, you saw a flash of like something.
Yeah,
And then he was like,
Caleb
now all you
in the
have
future,
to do.
just huge exploded.
And like Leland Gaunt being like, "Oh, Caleb, welcome back. So have you decided?"
You have to go.
And he's just got a picture in the corner of the room on the mantle of the fireplace. He's got a pitcher of chocolate milk and a pitcher of orange juice, and you have to choose which one you want.
Now you have to do something for me.
Yeah.
He makes you go like,
take these hair clippers and shave Jason's beard off.
Speaking of the welcome back.
Make it look like Steve did it.
Yeah.
Just wait, I don't get it. Oh,
I don't know.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You have to make Jason think
I
I
see
did
what you
it.
did there. Wear a Steven mask.
No, it'd have to be like Leave is like draw like Steve is an illustrator. So
I'd
Leave
have
is
to go white
art
face.
pens.
Yeah, you just like draw a weird, crudely drawn picture and leave it on the floor. Sign my name, Steve in the water.
It must be Steve. I'm not that mad. I needed to shave anyway. I'm probably not going to go and seek revenge.
And then there's a thunderstorm and my door knocks and I open it and it's like pouring Jason's. You have an axe in your hand and your beard is all patchy. You bastard!
You bastard! We have a fight to the death that results in us falling out the window, you stabbing me in the face with a fucking butcher knife, and me stabbing me.
Dope fight. That was a dope fight.
That was a great fight.
It's so good because they're both clearly inept at fighting with knives, so it goes on for so long. Like a normal stabbing would be like stab, 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 you're dead, but they're just like swiping at each other and missing and like burying the cleaver into like door frames and tables and stuff.
Wilma boots Nettie down the stairs and she full on like flips down the stairs.
Fucking Honey Bunny from Pulp Fiction.
Who?
Nettie, I think.
Oh
right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought
also
Paula was
So
June.
I Married an Axe Murderer. She's the axe murderer.
Hey, here's a side note. I just got a message that said that this recording stopped. Did it stop recording on your end?
Which
it says it's recording
on Insta or?
Yeah, it says it's recording on my end too. Hopefully, it didn't get fucked up.
Maybe that's the old message that I told you about a while ago.
Oh, maybe.
You mentioned though, I seen you again or whatever. You said something a minute ago that made me think of something. When Brian comes to the store the first time and he's like, "Oh, you're back" or something like that. Oh, I never forget a face. I was trying to think of like what was the like importance or what was behind that comment. Like I couldn't like quite understand what he was trying to get across. Like do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I think it was like meant to give an air of comfort, to be like you're an old friend, welcome home kind of thing. Okay, but gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure if there was too much weight behind it. I did take note of that line as well, being like, what does he mean? And when was he here?
Or maybe he's going to see him again in the future, and he's almost like talking about this is like he's like kind of like doing a like juxtaposition. I don't words. Go ahead. You guys
said it right. Juxtaposition is a word, and you are, I think, correctly using it.
Nice. My apologies.
No, I don't really know either. I think like if anything, it's meant to just be mysterious, right? Like this guy came to this town for a specific reason, and he already knows everybody better than they know themselves.
Oh, I heard.
Oh, I just paused and started again just because I'm paranoid.
Perfect. I like it. Paranoia is safe. Why was Brian in such a rush to get to this place?
He's excited. He's a kid. Remember when you were a kid? I used to run everywhere.
To go to an antique shop?
Yeah, dude. There was this antique.
Everywhere.
Kaylin, do you remember
It is a small town. It is a small town.
Kaylin, do you remember the antique store that was next to the Forum for like our whole lives? I don't know if it's even still there or not. Probably condo
on
now.
Almond Street?
Yeah, like like right next, like the Forum's here, and then like right next to it, on the corner. It might have been gone for a long
Windsor?
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
right across from the gas station. The gas station's long since gone too. Anyway, my point is I used to just go in there when I was like 12. I used to just go in and wander around. And then I remember they opened up a card store, like a trading card store. All they sold was fucking
Did somebody
baseball
offer
cards.
you a signed Mickey Mantle baseball card?
Yeah, and then
Mickey
I touched
Mantle
it.
sucks.
Mickey Mantle. Yeah. Oh, I
Did you
love
guys
that part
laugh out
too.
loud at that line?
I didn't laugh out loud, but I did smile. I was like,
Just the delivery of it, I think, is what got
Oh,
me,
my
like,
favorite scene in the whole movie is when the kid cocks the gun. He cocked it perfectly. You're like,
yeah. That stressed me out as a kid. I remember that scene being like, he's gonna shoot himself? You don't shoot yourself with a gun. You shoot other people.
Guns don't kill people.
Also, I believe that they filmed that kid killing himself in the original cut of the movie was like he actually dies.
Gotcha.
And they're like,
they definitely heavily implied that he did not make it to that kid, and then later he's like, he had a gun to his head and he almost did it. I saved him.
Yeah.
I think they just added that line or something.
He only blew off half of his face, but I could have stopped that. He's not pretty no more.
Hey, did you guys ever see that cartoon, Captain Bucky O'Hare?
Yeah, I remember it.
I think he's the voice of the kid from that cartoon.
Oh, really?
I think so. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it kind of his voice sounded familiar.
I was actually curious about who that kid was because he looked super familiar.
He's grown up since, and I think he's been in other things. Yeah.
He grew up.
Wait,
he didn't shoot himself in the face?
Grew up from 1993 and onward. He grew.
What?
Yeah, his voice is definitely familiar, and his face is familiar, but I don't.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where you're like, I'm sure he was in a bunch of shit when he was a kid, and then maybe did more stuff when he was.
He stopped acting in 2009.
Ooh.
Whoa!
What?
I mean, that's a pretty good run.
Retire or find a new greener pasture?
I don't know. It doesn't say that on IMDb. It just says this is the last thing.
Yeah, it says 2009, and then underneath it says greener pasture. There we go.
So
he made it.
He did voices on Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, but I don't nobody in no. He was on G.I. Joe. He wasn't. Yes, he was on Bucky O'Hare.
Yes.
There you go, Kalen. A win for you.
He was also in Captain N.
At least one per episode.
But yeah, he wasn't in anything of note. Like I wonder if. Oh, you know what?
Who is it?
He was in the movie Stay Tuned. You remember the movie? This is a movie I would love to do for this. I don't know where it fits in.
Stay Tuned? I don't know.
Stay Tuned is a John Ritter movie from 1992 where the guy from Ferris Bueller, the principal from Ferris Bueller, comes to their house.
Yeah.
The principal? Uh-oh. We all know that guy's a horrible person, right?
Yep, he's a real-life pedophile, I think. Anyway.
What?
He also plays a Gaunt-style character who brings a television to John Ritter that can play all these crazy channels that are in hell.
Whoa,
they're hell channels.
TV.
And it's basically and then John Ritter and his wife get sucked into the TV, and it kind of has like a Beetlejuice vibe.
Yeah.
And I think Rick and Morty ripped it off, but I'll never know for sure.
Well, I mean, Rick and Morty is just basically references upon references, right? Like that's what it is.
Well, I just mean
including this movie we're talking about.
You know, every season they do for the first 4 seasons they did a international TV or intergalactic TV episode.
Interdimensional.
Kind of has
television.
that interdimensional stuff. Yeah, it kind of had that vibe. I had it on VHS as a kid. It was like my favorite movie. Nobody's ever heard of it, as we've just displayed here.
I don't know if I've ever even remotely have any even tertiary contact with this movie outside of you.
I remember it vividly. It's probably why I say Hail Satan all the time.
We should maybe do that movie one day. I would watch it. Hell television sounds good. Right.
I'll watch anything. So put it on
funny.
the list.
It's like kind of a reverse. Not to give the plot away too much, but it's kind of a reverse Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where
they did that on the second one.
Oh yeah, that's true. The third one. The second one was Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
But they do the reverse.
They do the thing where in the third Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the parents get shrunk.
Okay, got it.
They do the thing where they're like, where are our parents? They've been missing for a day.
Let's have a party.
No, they turn the TV on and they're like, "Mom and Dad are in the show."
Oh my god! The devil's like stabbing him with a pitchfork.
Can I also say, shouldn't the devil have fancier handwriting? Were you guys disappointed?
He has great handwriting. What the
his
fuck are you
handwriting
talking
was
about?
shit. His
Oh my
handwriting
god.
was shit.
Let me see your notes, Kalen. It's like beautiful calligraphy. Like
I'm not saying my shit's good. I'm saying the devil should have some fancy like 18th century cursive with the flares. You know that old cursive with the flares?
Yeah, but he's using a ringed notebook. Like it's not like he's writing on parchment, like a roll, like a scroll or some shit. He's just writing down his notes. I'm gonna let that one slide, Kalen. I'm gonna say, who gives a fuck? Do you guys think that those two old lady twins killed each other?
Dude, as soon as I saw two old lady twins, for some reason my brain went, "That's so Stephen King." But then I was like, "It's a
That's
movie
like a
adaptation
thing, you know, like it's like an R.L. Stein thing."
But it's a movie adaptation thing. Is there like in the opening, you start reading this book?
That actually sounds familiar.
And he starts talking about how there's these weird twins in town. Like that seems like a Stephen King thing to write, and it seems like a thing they couldn't put in the movie. Yeah,
it's like an Erie, Indiana thing, right? Like it's like twins who are adults who dress exactly the same. That is weird as fuck. You know, like I know twins in real life who try as hard as they can to be completely different from one another.
Have their own individuality.
Because when you're a kid, your parents, they don't dress you the same because they think it's cute. They do it because it's fucking easy.
Convenient.
Like, just buy two of this and two of this. They don't have to
exactly.
walk around giving you your own identity at any point.
Madison's cousins are triplets, and they're all completely different people.
Oh yeah.
They all look the same, but
they're not the same person.
So they all have like different personality. Like they don't do the twin thing.
Oh, I heard the funniest thing the other day. If horoscopes are real, how the fuck are twins have different attitudes or whatever?
Oh, I'll answer this one, Jason. Horoscopes aren't real, you fucking dumbass.
Thank you.
I hate
that was too harsh.
I love you guys, but I hate you guys.
That was clearly too harsh, and Steve cut me off because he knew I was going to say the exact same thing.
You can't start a question with, if horoscopes are real.
Also, this kid, Brian, played a character called Spink in a movie called Shred. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Oh. I was going to say there are people that are so believe horoscopes that it's, like, concerning to me. Like, where they're like, Mercury must be acting up again. And you're like, oh, God.
It must have drank some Gatorade or whatever.
You just had a bad day.
Yeah, look at all my crystals.
You don't have to blame Jupiter or whatever.
My crystals are blocking me from
they have gravitational pulls.
Time.
I feel like you can blame them.
No.
Yeah. The moon makes tides, right? It has an effect. Even if you can't...
Because of actual gravity, not...
That's what I said, gravitational pull. They have gravitational pull. Your body's made of water.
Doesn't have enough of a gravitational pull to affect... That's like saying, like, if you eat 8 billion bananas, you'll die of radioactivity. You'll die of radiation poisoning.
Radioactive?
Yes, they have a very slight amount of radioactivity.
Well, then I bet that's true.
Oh my God. Well, it is technically true, but you die from eating 8 billion bananas before you...
Take a dump?
All right.
It's like you can't overdose on weed because...
Did you fall asleep?
No. If you somehow smoked enough weed, you just fall asleep. I guess you just eat edibles. But you'd have to eat so many edibles or smoke so much weed that it's like... not realistic, Kalen.
Yeah, don't blame Mars for your fucking bad attitude, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. With if Mars is in retrograde, that gravity affects things. It
will make you feel weird, so you're more pissed off that day or whatever. But it's like,
it's negligible. The moon's gravity affects the ocean. It might affect the ebb and flow of our because our bodies are made of water. But probably doesn't.
Did you know that it's not actually, like, the tides are not actually moving in and out? It's like a swell of water that's, like, rotating around the Earth.
Going like
it's
that.
Crazy. It's like the moon is pulling it, so it, like, follows the moon. It's crazy.
That's, like, new science, too, I think.
I only discovered that recently, and I was like,
you discovered it?
Holy
you were the scientist that broke that?
I was like, my God. I gotta call Kalen.
Not only is the Earth flat, but when the moon moves across...
Oh man,
Yes,
let's
that's
not
right.
even go into flat Earth stuff.
And let's not talk
I don't
about
want to give
flat.
Kalen any ideas.
And I don't want to talk about flat Earth on Twitch specifically.
I'm not one of those.
We'll get the wrong crowd.
The flat Earth thing doesn't make any sense. Why are the other planets spherical?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to convince us of anything, Kalen.
Why does a neutron?
We don't believe the Earth is flat.
Why does a neutron go around a nucleus in our atom?
Hmm?
It's all atoms all the way down.
Why are people so fucking stupid? Why are idiots allowed to say things like that? Anyway.
I want to take a mid-episode reminder to just remind you guys that we are live to the internet now. We are on Twitch. We could also go live to YouTube if we wanted.
Live to YouTube? They have that?
Yeah, YouTube live. People can comment. We can see.
So we just gotta be a bit more careful. Now I feel like.
I think that's what the audience likes.
I apologize for saying that horoscopes aren't real and calling you a dumbass.
No, that I don't care about. Horoscopes are stupid.
I think you're talking about going off the rails?
Yeah, we can go off the rails. We can say all kinds of whack shit. I just be mindful.
Okay.
We are
just keep your shit together. All right, let's get back to the
Do you think he didn't like the nickname Buster because of Buster Keaton?
Probably, yeah. Like he
Buster Keaton's a clumsy doofus
or whatever.
Yeah, Buster Keaton is considered a clown, even though he's like one of the most famous and impressive clowns that ever existed.
That's what I'm talking about.
He's like, he was like a joke, right? Like people would call him Buster because
the butt of the joke. Keaton. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I guess his whole life people were probably calling him Buster, and even though it's not necessarily a bad nickname, like if people call me Buster,
it sounds cool.
Yeah, if people called me Buster, I'd be like, all right, cool nickname. I don't have a nickname. People call me Steve. I don't have a cool nickname that people say.
Hey, what's your nickname? Steve.
I call you Dildo behind your back.
What's your real name, Steven?
I know. I've heard you do
that. Before I forget, I wanted to ask you guys about the score because I thought that this movie was scored exceptionally well. And I wanted to walk into a little bit of a Jason's theory corner.
Did you hear the Riddler theme?
Shut up. I wanted to...
Kalen, there's a certain element of suspense that is completely deflated when you do stuff like that.
I'm sorry. My bad.
God damn it. Okay, so basically I wanted to sit in my theory corner and say, do you think that Leland Gaunt is from the future, and he's such a fan of the Batman Riddler that's why he loves Ava Maria? Or is the Riddler such a fan of Needful Things that's why he loves Ava Maria?
Did you call Ava Maria the Riddler theme? Oh my god!
Because he sings another song in the movie too, so like,
yeah, it's not the Riddler theme.
The Riddler theme.
It is a centuries-old
It's
song
the theme they use for him in the movie, though.
Yeah, because it's a very, very popular song that is often played when people die. That's why they use it.
Ooh, that's very good. I like that.
It's a death ballad.
But to go back to that, they used Hall of the Mountain King when the shenanigans are going down.
And that song, I don't know what it is, but it now in popular culture, it just has an air of comedic value to it that I don't know if it was the case back then, but that scene is meant to be funny, right? So it's it was completely appropriate.
Things are happening. Things are happening in a funny way.
It has a lot of kinetic energy where you can play it to almost anything, and it intensifies the scene greatly.
It's like the Looney Tunes. Is
that Looney Tunes?
Yeah, that's usually used in Looney Tunes. Also, the main. Is it? Could be. The main score, just the songs in the background were all used excellently. They were haunting while still being melodic, which I really enjoyed. And there was one. Do you guys know what the one pop song in this movie was? Did you catch it? Did you remember? Because it's during a pivotal scene.
Is it like the flashback when they're in the car? And is it like tweedledee tweedledee?
No, that's a good point. That's a good point because it might have been.
I don't think that song's in this movie. I just pulled a song from.
Do you recall what
brain.
the song was when the first time Hugh gets up and drop kicks the fucking?
Fucking something about love or something.
Oh,
it can break your heart. It can break your heart. Yeah.
Oh, I thought
that blew my mind.
Because you're a man.
Don't break my heart.
I really enjoyed the jukebox feud with Hugh.
That made me laugh too.
I love that he fucking unloads one into the jukebox, and then we get a scene with two guys shooting shotguns at each other.
They're like both standing off, and it's doing that sort of that push pull. I can't remember what the style of shot is called, but it's like when they're zooming in and pulling in at the same time, and like the background is like
you're moving forward but zooming out, or moving back but zooming in, or something.
Yeah, it's
the effect is very.
It's
cool.
great, and I love it's often used in things to make you feel uneasy and give you this vertigo feeling, and it's haunting as heck. But in this scene specifically, I was like, oh my god, this is great. I love this. I'm so happy. This movie's so dumb, and I love it.
I love this movie a lot.
That. Thank you for introducing me to it, Steve/Steven.
You're welcome.
Do you want us to try and come up with a nickname?
Don't
call me Buster, you son of a bitch.
Guess you shouldn't have called him Buster.
Did you guys when Brian's smashing up the house? Did you find the smashing? Yeah. Did you find it incredibly satisfying? Because I did. Yeah. I couldn't look away. What
that
Karen
last
said,
one though, the last apple.
Was it the microwave or the one that he missed?
He didn't get the what's it called? Like when you get like a full a up and down a no hit game or whatever. There's like
no hitter.
Yeah, no hitter, exactly. It's like, ooh, that last one.
The last one just deflected off the side, No, I think it's filmed at a high frame rate so they can slow it down and stuff. So it just feels great. It's like those like TikToks where they're like crushing something with like one of those pneumatic presses and it's all coming out. You're just like, ugh.
Yeah,
it feels like
It's visual ASMR, as I like to call it. I know the A is audio, so VSMR. VSMR.
Well, we all know that
opinion.
Kaylin's got a foot fetish, and now we know that Jason has a weird ASMR fetish.
I hate ASMR to my core, but visual ASMR is what to call it, which is a dumb thing to say. I do enjoy pneumatic presses squishing things and watching things smashed in slow motion.
When Wilma's husband finally does notice the wings, like, hey, did you see the windows?
Yeah,
they're all broke.
He's like, windows are broke.
Yeah. I think that's like the only character in the movie that I'm like, bless this fool. He probably never even went into the store.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was actually one of the only clean souls.
He's like, I'm fine. I don't need nothing.
I
have no needful thing in my life.
Also, Alan had that one comment. It's like, no, I don't. I got everything I need, or whatever. Yeah. That was a nice little.
Well, his character is the perfect good to bad because he goes in there and he's investigating immediately, and he's like, "Would you like to see this? Would you like to see this?" And he's like, "No."
I think I have an interesting take on that. I think that his needful thing is the situation because he's from a big city and he moved away to the small, quiet town where he thought everything was going to be easy. But like when the store shows up, everybody's getting their needful things, and his needful thing is the situation that's being created. So without that story, he wouldn't have
I like that.
I love that in that same scene when he says where he's from. Leland is like, I'm from Ohio.
Where's that from? England?
Ohio. Yeah, he's like, what is that, like a Dusseldorf or some shit? Like,
I'm from
Ohio.
So I actually, in my notes, I wrote down where the Hall of Mountain King happens, and it does happen when Nettie's going through the house, posting the the warnings. I stopped the movie several times and wrote down what he was getting. Would you like to hear my list?
Yes, I want to hear the list. I tried to read. I didn't stop it, but I tried to catch some of them. Hit us with the list.
The only two that stuck out of my mind
were
fucking a horse and cornholing your mother.
So there's
cornholing your mother was what?
Yes.
Yep.
That sounds hilarious.
That's when I started to write them down. I was like, oh, this might be a good segment for the show. So there's being king shit,
nice.
Cornholing your mother, stealing, land piracy.
Whoa, land piracy?
Being the biggest cocksucker in Castle Rock, tax fraud, They're all marked Buster Keaton too, but like there are two Buster
No,
Keaton.
they're all by the cop. The cop.
But
that
they
wrote
say
the
two
ticket.
Buster Keaton, then the thing, and then from Norris, whatever.
Yeah.
Forgery, touring with the town treasury, being a cancerous zit.
Oh my god.
Greasy. My favorite one is greasy hysteria. Slandering the Bureau of Treasury, misappropriation of town funds, horse fucking, which was plastered onto a horse. Yeah, and fraud, but I think I said that. Yeah, and fraud. So there were a lot that I couldn't see. There were some that looked really long, and I'm wondering if the director was like, someday you'll be able to see these if you slow the movie down, but you can't because even when it's 1080p,
I think it was more
still looks
likely
like
that
Not on that grain.
They just got a couple of PAs with good handwriting, and they're like, just write as many weird things down on this as you can.
But it'd be great if you could be like, computer enhance, and you go in, and it's like, if you're reading this, you're a dumb twit.
Too loud.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I love late 80s, early 90s feel of movies, like just the grain or whatever, like the feel of this movie.
It
like,
has a warmth to it that I've noticed is absent nowadays.
It's like
Actually,
listening
Batman
to a movie on
very, very,
it had that vibe.
good,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like listening to a movie on a record versus listening to it digitally.
Yeah.
Just there's some layer.
It has body to it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it feels more real, feels more texture. Yeah, tangible or whatever. Yeah.
Can somebody explain to me though why she finds her recipe on Danforth's
Was that her recipe?
fridge?
It was a apple pie recipe.
It said, I thought it said Nettie's recipe for apple
it just
pie.
said famous recipe or something like that.
He stole it.
He stole it. That's all.
Oh, you know what it was, and I haven't watched the full extended cut yet, but I'll let you know. Someone probably planted it there for their needful thing.
You're probably
because
right,
they needed it so bad.
Genius.
His wife probably put it up.
Maybe there was a second feud with Myrtle and why am I so good at all the names from this movie?
You are pretty good at the names.
What
do you have? Google in front of you?
No, I'm looking at my notes.
I'm just playing.
I think writing down their names while I'm watching the movie, because what I do, my process is I start with writing down their actor name, and then if I don't know their actor name, I write down something about them. So I had Diner Woman for Polly for like most of my notes until they said Polly, and then I was like,
Mrs. McLean.
Yeah.
The most horrific scene in this, they telegraphed for way too long. It's very shortly after this scene, because Hugh goes and hacks him up. But the problem is like, it's a practical effect that looked bad. It looks really like cheesy, bad.
The skinned dog?
Yeah, I thought it looked really bad. I was white knuckling the table in front of me because I knew it was coming. I felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is about to happen. And then they do like the swing and show it, and I was like, lol, are you serious?
I thought it looked good. I found it very unsettling.
I think the lead up was more unsettling than the reveal. Personally.
The lead up was better, but it looked real. Like if that wasn't an actual died on its own dog and then they skinned it for the movie.
Or a goat.
Or whatever, yeah.
It was probably a prop.
Yeah, it looked pretty proppy.
That's one of I think the problems with this movie, even though I really like the movie a lot. It's not perfect, obviously, but tonally, it's all over the place. Like there are things that are extremely funny. There are moments that are very creepy, and then there are moments that are horrifying. And like the Danforth, all the tickets in the house, it's a funny scene, and then it's immediately followed up by her finding her dog dead, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
my God,
yeah.
So tonally,
the roller coaster of emotions.
Roller coaster ride, yeah. And it's not very balanced. And the end of the movie is like
just like real life.
It sprints right to the end. Like it's like all the stuff is like slow build and slow burn through all of it. And then it's just like as soon as that church blows up, it's like let's run to the finish line kind of thing, and it just goes insane. People are fist fighting in the streets. 2 priests are fighting. The loose lady of Castle Rock is revealed to be
the loose lady.
She has a line finally.
Can I get some of that? Can I get some of that leopard?
Yeah, leopard print jacket.
What is he holding on your background? What's on Jason's background? What is he holding?
It's the knife that he gives to the guy when he has to kill the dog.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a little webcam or a cam or whatever, and then I can have backgrounds so people don't have to look at my stack of shoe boxes and movies.
I mean, that's kind of cool. They used to be like vertical. Now they're kind of jammed onto that. I guess you had like 2 or 3 of those when you lived in that apartment.
I had a few shelves, so I had enough to kind of put them all out nicely. And now I still have those shelves, but they're used for other things now.
Because you live in a smaller place than that old place, right?
I
guess only by 1 bedroom.
I basically am in a bachelor living situation right now.
Honestly, I hate that lady at the beginning that says, "Aren't you supposed to be in school?" Like I wanted to
keep
yell.
bringing her up.
I wanted to yell at my TV. Mind your own fucking business, lady. Who are you? Aren't you supposed to be at work?
It's a small town.
I know, but that's why even worse. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Why do you care?
Kaylin, did you get the timestamp for the first time they say Needful thing?
Title shout out. So on the regular cut, 4 minutes 58 seconds.
Cool. That seems right. This movie gets going like immediately. Something I really enjoyed about this,
but it is a slow burn. Like it gets going, but there's just like long stretches of each kind of little section.
What I love about this, to that note, is I wanted to eat lunch and watch something else while I eat lunch because, like, when I want a little too heavy.
Yeah.
And I was like, when this hits the 1 hour mark, I'm gonna pause it and go get lunch. And the 1 hour mark is when the shit starts happening, when things start happening. And I love a movie that's just split in half like that. And I think Steve's right. I think they put in parts to make commercial edits because it's perfect 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you add another half hour, or you add another hour, and then you add commercials, and you have this like either a 2-night, 4-week mini series, limited series, or you have like a 2-night, like a weekend limited series. Like they don't do that on TV anymore. You don't get these, and you know the original was that it was like a 4-hour.
I think wasn't the original one was a miniseries.
Yeah, it was like a 4-hour miniseries. There's like another one. Is there a Stephen King one that's on a plane?
What?
Snakes on a plane.
The snakes?
Not Snakes on a Plane. A Stephen King story that takes place.
Final Destination 5?
No, I'm
on a plane.
My brain to try and think. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Final Destination movies were pretty good.
Well,
they were like Saw before Saw, sort of.
Well, the thing about Final Destination movies is that the main antagonist didn't want to do them anymore after 2 or 3.
Death? The main antagonist?
Yeah, main protag. Sorry.
Oh, you mean Devin Sawa?
The concept of death was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do any more of these.
Nah,
Giving myself a bad name.
I'm going to go be in Eminem's music video instead.
Yeah,
the Grim Reaper is like a weird Hollywood negotiation.
I want to be Stan in the Stan video.
They're like, we're going to write down a number, and we're just going to let you look at it. Slide the check across the table.
And then in 25 years, I want people to refer to being a super fan as a Stan. Because that's a thing now. That's a thing that happens.
Yeah, I think it's in the dictionary, actually.
Yeah.
I think that the moment the movie really is like, whoa, this is getting heavy, is when he puts the shotgun on the table. He's like, whoa.
Like, what do you think about this?
And he slaps the shotgun down. You're like, whoa.
Everything before that was like, oh, it's a little prank. No big deal. And then, boom. Well, why don't you kill him?
The knife is
Holy
pretty intense
shit.
as well. But yeah, putting a shotgun down, I was like, man, he should be wearing a red headband.
The pranks vary from slash his tires to shoot him in the face with a shotgun. Go put mud all over their linen.
Everything up to that point is quite playful, and it's pranky. He's like, just a prank, as I say in my homeland of Ohio. But when you kill the dog, it's like, oh no. Now
I actually felt really sad.
turned.
I was like, ah, no,
yeah, that
come
dog
on.
is so cute. I like a big dopey Rottweiler, a big cuddle buddy.
Rottweilers are good dogs. Did you guys catch the great foreshadowing by Alan, aka Ed Harris, at the very beginning, where Danforth and Norris get into it for the first time, and he says, "Just kill each other, and I'll put the person who lives in prison."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they end up literally fist fighting each other like later in the movie too, which was fucking great. I like their little side feud the best because we've been focusing on how Alan can't be.
He parked in the
Wade.
crib space. I don't think that's appropriate to say.
You can't say crib space.
Yeah, no, that's.
I do appreciate.
That's a real
Kaylin, I wasn't done. I was saying something.
My bad.
I appreciate that we've been focused on how Alan is like the good one in the story, but Norris his needful thing was to just tell Danforth to fuck off. Like he didn't play in the game either. Like he was just sort of
he was in there
smoking salesman or whatever it is.
The reason Danforth hated him is because he thought that he was boning his wife.
Yeah.
What?
Old Myrtle.
Danforth? Oh, right. Yeah, that came up later. Right, okay.
I'm sure there was more to that was not in the movie. Like, I'm sure there were, like, weird seeds that had been removed because they're like, we don't really need it. He loses his mind anyway. So let's just add this in. But there must be more to it. Because, like...
Na.
That was so cringy. I hated it.
It was cringe. It made me laugh.
Oh, that guy with the huge dick is back. You hear him? I really like Danforth's character. He reminds me of in like the later Office seasons, Robert California.
Yeah,
he reminds me of that.
He kind of reminds me of that. Yeah,
he's got a Robert California energy to him. James Spader. But I feel like every character in this movie is redeemable in some way, except for Wilma. She is just a straight up bitch, and like there's nothing good about her. She's mean to her husband.
She makes good turkey.
How do you know that?
How do you know?
No one says that.
Because Alan buys a delicious turkey sandwich at Paula's little diner.
She didn't make the sandwich. She raised the turkey.
And it's delicious.
All you gotta do is feed them, and they grow into a bird, and then you cook them appropriately, and then they taste good. You could cook something poorly. Anyway, Wilma sucks. When she knocks that sugar on the ground, I would have thrown her ass out of my diner immediately. Because she doesn't even do that. She's like, just order something and leave. I'm like, what? How about get the cop in here and lock her ass up for vandalism? Fuck that lady. I'm glad she got a cleaver to the forehead.
She died almost the most brutally too.
That was that was a good one.
Because nobody else took a cleaver to the face. I guess the two guys that shot each other with shotguns was pretty bad.
Henry and Hugh. Yeah. That was good too, yeah.
And blowing yourself up at the end is pretty wild.
Yeah, but he didn't feel any of that.
But he was redeeming.
Is that the only person that can solve the crime is the guy from the big city.
Why'd they let him leave? Why'd they let him leave?
Because he's a fucking supernatural being he just got blown up with dynamite and walked out and was like, okay, you're going to stop me?
I'm going to leave now. Yeah. You clearly don't want me here, so I'm going to bounce.
I would 100% let him leave as well. I don't want him to... Remember when he picks up Danforth like Darth Vader? Like, he just picks him up by his throat.
You wussy. Yeah. When he calls I think he calls Alan a wussy or something. When he shoots his gun in the air.
Yeah, he's like, oh,
you wussy.
He has some very good lines in this movie. Like,
he's got a great voice. He's got a dope voice.
He's like, all I wish is I had some cheddar cheese. Fucking cutting the
but beggars can't be choosers, I suppose.
Yeah, sticks and
I'll
stones.
be back in 2 seconds.
Break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
It's something I wanted to point out before we move too far is, and I never knew this actor's name, but did you watch Peacemaker?
Peacemaker, the show? No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, this dude was also in like White Chicks and Scary Movie, and the movie with Mark Paul Gosselaar. No, the movie with Mark Paul Gosselaar where like they have if they can get somebody to live in their dorm and click-clack themselves, then they get to graduate. Do you remember that movie?
Which actor?
Yeah. Anyway, the actor's name is Lachlan Monroe. it's hard to explain who he is if you don't. Is he a Knight of the Roxbury?
Wasn't he the trainer? Didn't he train them or something?
Yeah.
Can you tell me who he is?
Oh
this
yeah,
movie?
he's their buddy. Yeah, and he's towards the end, he's like just a cop that has like a couple lines. And I thought it was crazy to see this
Oh,
person.
that guy, yeah, with the big teeth.
Yeah, he's got big teeth. He kind of looks like he could be a Busey. He could be Jake Busey's brother. I think Jake Busey is actually in. No, that's Gary Busey. Jake Busey is the son. Are you peeing?
Yeah, he's in Scream.
Oh my god. I'm trying to find the name of the movie. With this dude's been in so many things that I scrolled 7 times and I'm at 2010.
He's a working actor, man.
Things. Holy
he gets
shit.
paid like $25,000 a project, and that's how he lives his life. He's got to just work, you know.
That's all I need.
Let's
I mean,
see
he
here.
didn't get paid
Okay.
$25,000 for this. He probably got paid $500 for this.
Well, you just had to break in. What the fuck is the name of this movie? You guys have seen it. I know you have.
I've seen it.
No. That's not it.
Deadpool. No, that's Ryan Reynolds. You're thinking
Right,
of Ryan
Night at the
Reynolds.
Roxbury. That's what I remember him from. There's
Well,
definitely other things.
I remember him
line-
from a Scary Movie, and he had a tiny wiener. He had micro penis.
That sounds
Yeah, he's the
familiar.
micro penis guy. But he's also in the movie that I'm talking about. He humps the lamp and he says, I just
before he dies.
want to hump this lamp.
Oh, why does that sound familiar?
I just want to hump
Not
this
another teen movie? No.
No, it's the movie with Mark Paul Gosselaar. Dead Man on Campus. Dead Man on Campus.
Ah, yes.
That's another movie I would like to watch.
Dead Man on Campus.
Oh, dude. That movie's so dumb. It probably sucks. There's probably a lot of anti-gay stuff
The
in
guy
it.
from Saved by
Because
the
it's a
Bell
college
is
movie.
the guy, right?
That's Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Well, then I'll
Does
surely
nobody...
enjoy it.
My point is it's one of those movies from the 90s that I thought everybody had seen.
No.
What? Where they get to graduate because their roommate does.
They keep getting roommates at their dorm room.
That
One thing that I
suicidal or some shit or something.
Are there any moments in this movie that like really stick out to you that because it is sort of a tropey, it's like technically a horror movie, I guess, but it's more
It's a thriller.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like it's hard to kind of put this movie into a box in terms of like what it is. It's like a fantasy, science fiction.
Feels like a John Carpenter movie that doesn't take that time.
It did kind of
right.
weird makeup. There were nobody he didn't reveal his face to be the actual devil,
Yeah.
which would be
There
the
are,
John
like,
Carpenter twist.
There are like two sort of frames in this movie that even as a kid I was like, ugh. That, and it like stuck in my brain, and then when I saw it again as an adult, I was like, oh yeah, this movie. This is the movie that gave me horrifying nightmares about my hands being all fucked up when she puts her hands up and they're all like knuckly, and you're like, oh.
Well,
was that
I think
an effect or something, or was she just tensing her hand?
No, her whole story. She needed the pills for arthritis. She had turbo
I think
arthritis.
Karen's talking about the effect of like how it looked,
like the visual of it.
Yeah, I think it was both. Like she's tensing her hand, and they like did some makeup effects.
With some
I think
makeup or something.
They probably put a little bit of like rubber or some shit on her hand, some putty. But I don't know. There's something. I guess to me at least, like I have
that happened to me before.
I have nightmares where my hands don't work and I can't pick things up and do stuff.
Oh, you're an artist though. You draw.
Yeah, like literally my job relies on my hands. So if I was to lose my hands, I used to have nightmares. My mom told me, like, she's like, you used to have nightmares where your hands would fall off all the time. You'd wake up screaming and be like, my hands fell off.
It sounds like you really like your hands. That's what that means.
I do. I really like having hands. I'd be kind of pissed if I didn't have hands, to be honest. Maybe if I never had them, I wouldn't miss them, but the fact that I've had them my whole life, I
would give up my feet to give my hands if it came down to it.
Oh, for sure.
How are you going to walk? You're going to walk on some stumps?
Just some fucking prosthetic. Dude, there's a wrestler from the 80s named the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. He had a prosthetic foot. You just kind of jam it in the boot and put your little rub on top of it.
Would jam it in people's mouths like he would rip it off as a weapon. Like,
there's another wrestler from the 90s named Fit Finley. He had a prosthetic foot. You just fucking jam it in his boot, put his little nubby down into it.
For a wrestler. Fit Finley?
He was
Jason,
Irish.
Were you friends with Ryan Freed?
I recognize that name.
Because he likes wrestling. He's like from around here and shit. Me and him and one of our other buddies at the time we made a backyard wrestling video.
Oh God, I'm gonna stop this story right now.
All right, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So back to Needful things.
One of my
you're
notes
leading
is,
us.
yeah, one of my notes that I wrote down is LOL, the money in the envelopes. I'm like it's so like, are they gonna mail them? Like, why are they in those envelopes?
Because that's how you give money to people.
But they have those little like mail windows on it
With
where
the
you
window.
see there's
Yeah.
money inside. It's not even like disguised. There's something so weird about it, and the fact I didn't really think about that until this refresh viewing, where I was like, oh, earlier I was like, oh, those envelopes are full of money, but this time I was like, why the fuck are those envelopes full of money anyway?
To answer your question from earlier about, sorry, were you done?
Well, I was gonna say,
totally change the subject, but
when I first saw this, like as a kid, I didn't think anything of it, but even in my 20s, I didn't really think anything of it. But this time I realized that was the money they were supposedly like stealing from Town Hall. But I had initially thought that was the money that he had got from betting on the races, but he never bets on the races. He just plays with the toy. So I don't know, it just seems weird.
To answer your question from a minute ago about a scene that really stuck out to me, I took a note here. When Danforth gets home and he's handcuffed to his car and he's getting Myrtle he absolutely berates her.
Yeah.
And then she's just apologizing profusely and then accidentally calls him Buster. And then the next scene is him in the mirror washing a fucking hammer with blood like this across his face. And then he's like, where are the voices coming from? And he fucking smashes the mirror. And then Gaunt calls him, and it's revealed that the voices are like, he's got that sound that used to happen in the 90s where if a cell phone was calling you, your speakers would like make the sound. That's what the voices were. Because Gaunt calls him, and then he ends the call with, I killed my wife. Is that wrong? And I laughed out loud. That was a laugh out loud moment for me. Because Madison was in the room. She was like doing dishes or something, or like in the kitchen or whatever.
Is that wrong?
Is that wrong?
You couldn't have done it for no reason. It's like, oh God, yeah. This guy's evil. I don't have much more to say about the movie.
No, I'm just about done. I'm just about done here too.
There is one other shot that, for like, every time I see it, I'm like, that's where this is from. Because like, I often, when I'm writing stuff, I try to like flourish things, or when I'm drawing things, I try to like make it seem kinetic. And there's like the moment where he removes that necklace from the box is like so satisfying in a weird way, where like the chain sort of like curls out. Yeah. And like you can see it moving, and then it's like it goes for like an impossibly long period of time before it finally pulls the actual amulet part out. Yeah. And the amulet looks cool, and it like nestles perfectly in between her breasts, which is just like weirdly erotic, and you're like, wow, this is like everything about this necklace is like showcasing his evil to me and like what he is, and he's just this like
was it a metaphorical heart? Or something? What do you think
I
it was?
don't know. Like, and like
it kind of looked like a nut. It almost looked like a walnut.
It looks like an acorn almost. Yeah, like
I thought it looked like an egg from the movie Alien.
Yeah, and like you never really figure out what's inside of it, right? And like he keeps, like people are like
evil.
Yeah, it's just like the encapsulation of evil, basically. Or it's like you don't know what's in there. It's like the briefcase from Pulp Fiction. Like you're not meant to know what's inside of it, but you want to know. I want to know what's in there. Yeah, and like when she's trying to pry it open and it like goes crazy, and even Ed Harris is.
It kind of sounded alive when she tried. It almost sounded like it was.
Yeah,
screaming.
It had like a weird sort of classic
hiss or whatever
sound effect. Like like it had like a weird. So I'm like,
I hypothesized it was a soul. I thought it was a soul.
But it could be like the soul of a demon and not the soul of like a person, right? Or it's the soul of somebody who had
who had good hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best hands.
The best.
Best.
I was literally thinking that it was like somebody from history who had exceptionally great hands. Some sort of the first first ever surgeon.
It's David Duchovny's character from Zoolander in there.
Did you guys notice that the ticking time bomb was already at 0 before he rushed Leland?
No.
It was already at 0, like it was already done.
You know what they call that? A continuity error. Good catch, Kalen.
They call it ticking time boobs.
Ticking time boobs.
Another little technical hat nod I'd like to say. This movie comes in the same way it comes out.
Yes, it is very
lighthouse.
satisfying when something is bookended like that. It's like
the
best.
Yeah. Close and open, close.
It's like when you're watching a TikTok and it like perfectly transitions into the first frame, and you're like, "Whoa, it's like looped forever now."
Oh yeah, gifts.
And for that reason, I'm going to tell you about a situation that I was in recently.
Ooh, I love story time. Go on.
Yeah.
Speaking of segues, I hate segues.
Yeah. Perfect. Those are examples of TikTok, Steve.
That's a TikTok?
Oh,
my Zoom just froze up completely for whatever you just said, so I'm going to say, oh, cool. Thanks for that.
Twitch saw it.
Is your Zoom allergic to shitty content?
Yeah.
I am horribly allergic to shitty content. It makes me drop my phone, and my hands turn into weird claws.
I've completed my notes.
I have a couple
5 to 11
left, but
hit us with some notes.
I'd like to be done by 11:15, please.
You'd like a lot of things, Jason.
Okay.
Sure.
But it's Steven's birthday month. He's the host.
That doesn't mean that I'm not going to...
Well, what we're doing right now is wasting valuable time in which we could be talking about the movie. I think that there's like lots of really good lines in this movie, read by Max von Sydow, who's, he's basically been around for all of film, like all of like important film as an actor, and he still works to this day. He was in Star Wars. He dies within 5 minutes of being in it, but it was cool that he was there.
I'd put that on.
But he's got such an incredible voice. He was in Skyrim, the video game Skyrim. I remember playing that and being like, "Whoa, it's that guy from all those movies that I like." And I didn't know his name at that point when I played it for the first time. He's the trailer for Skyrim, where he's like, "Well, there is one."
The voice for the trailer?
Dovahkiin, Dragonborn. He's the one who said Dragonborn for the first time. Anyway, there's something that's like that he brings to that role that I don't know if anyone else could really accomplish. We all know Ed Harris is an amazing actor, and like, the guy who plays Danforth is very competent as well. Like I'm sure he's been in lots of stuff, but it's just, he's one of those guys that disappears into the background of a movie after you leave.
Yeah.
But Max von Sydow,
but it's perfect at that.
I don't know.
Max von Sydow died in 2020.
Oh, he's dead? I didn't know he died.
R.I.P.
2 years ago, too? Holy shit, no one told me. Well, to be fair,
are we on the anniversary of it?
Well, I don't know. Was he in the Hunger Games? He's in so much stuff. He's in Minority.
I think you're thinking of what's his face.
He plays Vigo in the Ghostbusters video game.
Oh, he's the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters 2. He's the voice.
Yeah,
he's not the face. Obviously, the face.
Right.
The face.
Not
of
the face. Yeah. They cut his
B-list
audio.
actor.
The Mouth of Madness, right? It's like, Johnny boy. That's the reason they cut his voice, because he kept yelling Johnny boy while he was doing all his Ghostbusters.
If you look really closely, you could see that he's saying Johnny boy over and over.
He's the baby. But he has like the line where he says like, "Yes sir, we're having fun now." It's like amazing. The cheddar cheese, like when he's cutting it with like a machete too, you're like, oh my god. I'm sure it's a pie knife, but it's like made of like matte iron.
Swoop.
But there's one line in this movie that he says that I was just like, this is great. And it's like he's in the coffee shop and he looks up and he says, there's nothing quite as invigorating as a crisp fall day in New England, eh? You're like, oh my god. That's such a mouthful, and it's like, no one says that, right? Like, nobody says that to anybody. But
this movie was very booky. Like that's like kind of adds to.
It's very overwritten, especially for all of his lines, right? Like It's like he's.
But he's
written
grandiose
everything
like that.
down.
He's the devil. He's got to be.
Oh yeah,
grandiose.
he's a showman. He's a salesman, literally. He's like selling himself.
He's a
and
dirty
his
salesman.
Did you guys know that Max von Sydow played the father in the 1975 film Egg, A Hard-Boiled Story?
Is that by Dr.
Oh
Seuss?
yeah, nominated for all of the Academy Awards, correct?
Forever. They
Yeah.
stopped the Academy Award after it.
I think he got a Grammy too.
Yeah, he got an EGOT from that movie.
Yeah, nominated for the Peabody and the Hugo Awards.
Yep.
So I'm assuming they were stunt doubles
Golden
doing
Globe.
this, but
Screen Actors Guild.
when Buster rushes Leland and they blow up, Alan and Paula, like, they get blown back and they go over the hood of I think it's a
I'm
cop
sorry.
or
I
whatever.
just want to say one thing. He's also in fucking The Exorcist. He's the priest in The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what's his face Woods?
That's,
you know what? I'm thinking of
Scary Movie. Kaylin, I don't know even how to respond to that. Wasn't that James?
James, that's
like
his name.
James Woods
James.
taking a dump and like having flies all over his face or whatever. That's a different.
Wasn't
movie.
he that guy that pissed off people or some shit?
He also makes out with the child. Oh, speaking of which, Max von Sydow's kiss in this movie is vile. Like, it's absolutely vile. There's something so uncomfortable about that whole thing. In
With
fact,
Paula? When they're making
where
out?
she's
When
like
they're doing that
stop
paperback?
and he's not, and then he just like the way he like presses it. There's nothing sensual or erotic or romantic about it. It's just like
it's the
almost
devil,
like
right?
mashing
It's
like
the
two
devil
mannequins
doing a
together,
rape.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's really gross and uncomfortable.
That part was as unfunny as the Hall of the Mountain King and all the funny phrases that Mindy was putting in.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It's true. It was like it was like the binary opposite of like the enjoyment of the ticket scene was.
I wonder on a rewatch if there is like because we do go from the Hall of Mountain King to her discovering her dog in a very horror movie as a moment.
And it's almost a comedic.
I wonder
cut
if it
as well. Like it cuts from her closing the door and then running on her bike, and like the way it cuts with him screaming is like it's a comedic cut. We're all familiar with them from everything that we've ever watched in our lives, so you're like trained to be like, ha, funny, and then it's like it fades into her opening the door to the kitchen and calling for the dog, and you're immediately like you're still on the high of that fun jovial moment, and then you immediately are like, oh, I forgot the dog died. no, she's gonna find the dog, and she just had so much fun with the tickets. I'm sorry, Jason, did you have a question about that? I just kind of overtook what you were saying.
No, I didn't. I was just, my point was that I wonder if you go back and watch the movie, if there is a lot of juxtaposition between the scenes like that, where you get a really light scene and then it immediately goes dark like that, but more subtly, because some of them are very obvious, but I wonder if there's like a subtlety to it, which is kind of the juxtaposition between the people who are feuding, you know, like, this movie might be one of those, you got to watch a bunch of times to really get everything. Like watch a bunch of times as an adult,
layered.
Not see it over the years. Like, you know, a lot of movies happen in our lives, but literally like watch this movie several times within the same year. Kind of like the way that you'll like rewatch all of Community and see new things, or you'll
watch Community constantly.
Yeah, that's just an example because Dan Harmon hides stuff. You know, he's one of those writers.
The Beetlejuice spanned over, I think it was 3 seasons?
3 or 4 seasons.
That
we don't
is
talk
fucking
about
amazing.
What having fun.
What I was going to say, though, the explosion, right? Buster rushes Devil, the little shop explodes. It's probably stunt actors or whatever, getting blown back and going over the hood of the cop car.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the characters anyway. It's Paula. Okay, so you guys are looking at me. How do I? So I'm gonna do it sideways, maybe. Actually, I'm gonna do aerial. Let's do aerial. Okay, so here's the car from the top, right?
This is great for an audio format.
The Paula and and Alan are like in front of the car hood, and then the thing explodes and they go back over it, right? I'm assuming it was stunt. It was like stunt actors.
Yes, you said that
Stunt
already. It's
people,
stunt performers. Yes, go.
performers. I don't want to say stuntmen because I don't
Stunt
know.
people's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Stunters.
Paula
Couple
and
of stunters.
Alan get blown back. Alan's character gets the smooth kind of roll off of the hood and the windshield, where Paula is on the edge and she kind of like gets a shitty ass roll off.
Yeah.
And it just kind of made me laugh. Like, so first I was thinking that it was Ed Harris and Bonnie Bedelia actually doing it. And I thought he was just being a dick or whatever. It was like, no, I want the safe side or whatever kind of thing.
It was probably stunt performers. I
Almost
don't think it was actually them. But there are some pretty intense stunts in this movie that I'm like, whoa. Ed Harris, like there's a part where the priest is getting like a bunch of flaming debris thrown on him, and it is clearly not.
He was on
a
fire.
Stunt performer. Yeah, he was like, it's not a stunt performer. It is like people off screen just throwing flaming shit at the
That's what I was gonna say. It looked like somebody just like threw some flaming debris, but he was clearly wearing like flame retardant pants because his pants didn't catch fire.
Also, though, within that same shot, somebody hucks down the cross from the top of the church, like right near him, and it lands so
really close,
and it's clearly real metal. Like it's like the way it bounces, you can tell that it's not like a rubber prop or something.
I love how unsafe things were back in the day.
Well,
I say that jokingly.
No, I know there was also a lot of crazy accidents in the 80s that like really made them have to like I don't know if you're familiar with the
unions and shit.
The what's his name?
Brandon Lee?
No, well Brandon Lee, yeah, but that was the 90s. But what the fuck is his name? John.
What did he do?
John Hughes. Actor.
John Carpenter.
Director.
John Cusack.
Well, he's also an actor. He's the father of that
Stanley Kubrick
guy who made
Delia. Delia.
Not Delia. No, it's not Delia. It's
Dark Knight.
Fuck.
Landis.
Max Landis. John Landis.
John Landis.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been another edition of Name That Director.
That guy's name. John
We're
Landis.
getting a little toasty, folks.
Obviously, it's a tragedy, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but like a situation happened in a movie that he was filming where two child actors, a stuntman, and another performer were killed in a helicopter accident because they didn't follow safety procedures. It was windy, and like everything was like, you should not film this. And he's like, well, I'm just gonna do it anyway, and like everyone died, and there was like it was in like courts forever, and it like changed in the entire way that basically like how you have to like consider lives before getting shots. You know, it was like the time of guerrilla filmmaking died and with those people, unfortunately. But you know, it's better.
There's something that good that came from it. They have saved future people.
Action movies. And then he made Fury Road.
Did you just say he died and then he came back?
George Miller came back. His director of photography
died. Oh, my apologies. Okay, my apologies.
You hear that, Kalen? That's the police coming for your mistakes.
I heard the authorities. They were not pleased with my ignorance.
George Miller himself is driving that police car. And he's driving it like he's in Mad Max Fury Road. The guy,
they had a band.
Flamethrower guitar guys on top of the police car. Anyway. I can't remember how I got onto that, but I mean, yeah, some of the stunt work in this movie is like, it's not crazy impressive and it's not like mind blowing, but you're like, holy shit, they're putting these actors in like real danger.
Yeah.
A lot of fire, a lot of like explosions. Like even the Baptist priest at one point, there's like an explosion that seems like very close to him where he's like hiding behind the headstones. So the explosion is so intense that the headstone does like a boing, like the after it blows up. It's like ding, ding, ding. And I was like, he probably felt that heat, just like
Yeah.
he probably thought he was on fire for a second.
It's
Anyway,
too hot. Can you turn it down?
this movie, we've been talking about it for nearly 2 hours at this point.
We're there.
So I think we're going to move into final thoughts, unless we want to do any other special segments. But
No,
Can we turn it into a Muppet movie?
no, I don't think. I don't care for this bit, this Muppet bit. I'm not into that.
Once in a while, it works. Once in a while, it's a good bit. It's not good tonight.
There's too many characters in this movie. We'll run out of
perfect
Muppets.
for the Muppets.
It's true. It's true. I just don't know how much entertainment people get out of us imagining them as Muppets.
Well, I mean,
Maybe it's for our own entertainment, I guess.
But you know what? Sometimes I get entertainment out of people being entertained.
True. Well,
Or,
Miss Piggy would be that fucking turkey farmer. Fucking bitch.
fucking bitch.
I don't like her. She's mean. She's rude. She's so mean to Nettie for no reason.
She definitely does not have any redeeming qualities that we see anyway in it. Everyone does have like a good and a bad or whatever.
Maybe she donates a lot of money to like really good charities.
Maybe she fucking hooks up Paula with the turkey.
Could be.
Maybe, yeah, you could be right. Maybe their parents were friends or something, or like Paula like saved Wilma from like a boating accident or some shit.
Also, who names their kid Wilma?
Yeah, nobody's doing that anymore.
Remember back in the day, everyone used to name their kid Wilma.
That'll be like 1953 when Ed Harris is talking to his grandson. He'll be like, everybody used to be named Wilma when I was young. And then his grandson will be like, Wilma, I like that name. And then people will bring it back. All right, let's go into final thoughts. Sorry, what do you have to say?
Take it away. No, I was just going to say, who do you want to start the final thoughts? I don't even know why I'm talking. How dare I? You're the host. You're the birthday boy, almost.
Well, you know what, Kaylin, because you're already talking, why don't you give us your final thoughts on the movie Needful Things, starring Ed Harris and Max von Sydow and Bonnie Bedelia?
Well, allow me to tickle your fancy with my thoughts of what I found to be a very captivating movie. I said it before, there's something about movies in this era that I just love the feel of that much more. They feel more real. They feel more, you mentioned textured, tangible. They just feel real as opposed to everything.
Like you could take a bite out of them and it would taste good.
Like they're there. Like it's right there, where everything these days kind of has this gloss or something kind of wiped over it all. But I was very, very entertained and captivated by this movie, where I wanted to know what was going to happen next. And this is more proof of what I've said before, in regards to kind of wanting to kind of do this, is being introduced to other things that I wouldn't have otherwise, known about or seen or whatever, right? I am going to finish the TV version. I'll probably kind of finish it throughout tomorrow or whatever, just to kind of see the little differerences and stuff. But the execution of this movie, the production value, I felt the casting was, I think a huge applause needs to go to casting. I felt that the actors that they had for the characters, the different roles, that were presented, were very fitting. It felt very real in the sense of, and this is almost like I don't want this to sound like a backhanded compliment or anything like that. And what is beauty? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but no one is exceptionally Hollywood looking or whatever. Take that for what you will.
It's aged appropriately. They don't do like a super hot diner owner. They're like, no, we'll get somebody who looks like a real person.
And exactly, and matches with it's just exactly. It was just perfect pairing, perfect casting, perfect execution, perfect production. Oh well, perfect's a very strong word, but very, very, very well done. Very captivating.
It's strong.
Yeah. And I definitely, for anyone who hasn't seen it or heard of it, give it at least a watch. It's definitely worth a watch. It's worth multiple watches, I'll say that, because there are little things. Jason, you mentioned earlier, like, kind of layered and what, like you catch little things here and there. When's a good time to watch this movie? And how would you guys? I think you guys were trying to like classify it earlier, like suspense thriller or something, or all like.
I think that the best time to watch this is on a crisp fall day in New England.
You know what? Perfect. So on that note, I give this movie a stumbling upon that memento or memory that brings you back to a joyous moment in your life out of an antique shop. For some reason, I don't know how to inflect my voice properly.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, no, I think you've made some good points there, Kalen. Jason, how about yourself? What are your final thoughts on Needful Things, the movie?
Needful Things, the film,
not
the movie.
book.
The thing about this movie is that I had a really good time watching it. I don't know a lot about the 4 movies that you proposed for this month, so the whole point of this project, I've said this many times, is to witness and see things I haven't seen in film. And the John Carpenter month is what I keep thinking of when it comes to this movie, because this feels like an extension of that whole. Mm-hmm. But it's a different thing. Like, this doesn't get as wacky and weird and manic as those movies do. This one keeps it pretty level, pretty realistic, while still having those like Stephen King extra dialed up to 11 characters. And earlier when I said I haven't seen a lot of Stephen King, I guess if I've seen both It movies, Shawshank, the Fourth.
There are sometimes you have seen
you've
them
probably
and you
seen
don't
them.
even realize you've seen them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a Stephen King.
Those have those same kinds of characters that are like people turned up to 11 and horror without it being like straight up horror. Like Shawshank is the constant threat of being sexually violated. Those are like the horror moments in Shawshank, and in Stand By Me, it's the constant like you're a kid in the middle of the woods and everything is scary and you find a dead body. Stephen King has a way.
It's almost like nightmare horror versus Halloween horror.
Exactly, and I fucking hate that movie, so fuck that. Sorry. I will always dog on the
That's
Halloween.
Fine. We all know you hate Halloween.
Yeah.
The movie, not the
movie,
holiday.
not the holiday. I love the holiday. And there's probably like.
You had one of the best Wolverines I've ever seen.
Thank you. It was a good Wolverine, classic Wolverine. But I digress. The thing I love about this movie is how it, like Kalen said in the chat the other night, it kept me guessing. I just wanted to see what happened next. It wasn't a slog, which a lot of old, early '90s movies can be. On paper, the idea is great a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And then especially when you compare it to last month, where on paper I thought we were going to have so much to talk about every movie. But Trey Parker and Matt Stone just do the same fucking thing every single time they do anything. And it just beat a dead horse joke into the ground, and that's the joke. And it doesn't work as a film analysis series. It works more as like you just fucking put on basketball. You want to
and watch the jokes
and
unfold.
Yeah. Don't talk. There's nothing to talk about. With this, there's lots to talk about. I learned a valuable lesson for this show, and I'm sorry that it took 5 movies to get there, but I'll never make us do like every Adam McKay comedy. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to watch like Anchorman and Step Brother like in that.
I think there's a point to that where like too much of the same thing. I think that's a good point.
But inversely, when it comes to John Carpenter and Stephen King adaptations, and other Wes Anderson would be another series that I think we could get a lot out of. though they're so different. They're so different, and there's so many ideas, and there's so many moments that are way more varied. And this encapsulates that perfectly. I'm gonna give this a solid 3.7 out of 5. You know, it feels like a made for TV movie, but it's got a lot of good content, and it's a really good story. And the idea of the devil coming to town and trading people dumb knickknacks for him just literally just fucking it up, just messing with people and making them like, you fuck this person and make it look like this other person fucked with them, so they get mad at this other person. It's a giant.
I think you're right. The Riddler did like this movie.
I think the
And
Riddler
thus,
loves this movie.
Ava Maria is in the new Batman movie because of this.
As the Riddler theme. They never used Ava Maria in any other movie. Literally, it's literally.
Ave Maria, aka the Riddler.
Hey, wasn't it in Step Brothers?
It was in Step Brothers,
it's in
I
lots
think.
of movies, Kalen.
Don't
He thinks
try
that
for
he's
me,
like, oh, let me
Argentina.
just hear your voice, and he's like, I don't know, man, I don't really sing anymore. And he sings Ave Maria. But anyway,
No, that's not. It's a different song.
no, he sings Enya at the Catalina mixer. But I think he does Ave Maria when they're just the two of them.
No, he does. People keep talking about people.
Right, okay. Well, it's the Enya song.
That was the best
at the
thing
Catalina
I've ever
wine
heard in my
mixer.
entire life. Yeah. Anyway,
so 3.7 out of 5, and I would recommend this to anybody that likes John Carpenter films and Stephen King, and it's a weird, this was probably in like the bargain bin, like it was
It
probably
shouldn't
like,
be.
I definitely got a copy of it on DVD for like $3 at Walmart.
Yeah. But even when it was on VHS, it's probably in the like Blockbuster bargain bin. It's probably on liquidation constantly. It's a weird fucking movie, but honestly, I recommend it to anybody that likes like weird movies from the '90s. It's not slow at any point, so it's not like you're gonna put it on and be bored. I'm watching this because somebody told me that I should see it. It's genuinely enjoyable.
Yeah, there's enough like moving from one character to another that you are interested, because you don't get enough of any of those characters to get bored, because you're like, oh, this person again. I'm interested to see what happens.
The 3-hour cut, if that was the goal, to watch that and that's what we talked about, that might have been too much.
Yeah.
I wish more movies had a fucking tighter, like a tight cut. I wish a lot of 3-hour movies had a 2-hour fucking cut.
You mean like Batman?
No,
Yo,
Batman's different.
Batman could use a little trimming.
It's true, but I could watch Batman movies and Spider-Man movies. I could watch a 5-hour Batman movie.
I could too.
I'm watching Batman. I'm watching Batman.
Yeah.
But a 5-hour like John Carpenter movie like that looks very 80s.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit hard.
Tell me
that's what I'm telling. That's what I'm saying. It's different strokes for different folks, which sounds like something that like Wilma would say. Anyway, yeah, that's how I felt about this.
She doesn't know how to fucking.
Sydow would say that,
different strokes. Like he just learned tropes throughout the years, throughout the centuries, and he's like, hey.
Stones may break my bones.
Anyway,
that made me laugh too.
That's my final thought for the movie.
Excellent final thought. All right, I will head into mine now. I really do enjoy this movie, and I was introduced to it at a very young age, and I think that it is partially responsible for me getting really into Goosebumps and Eerie, Indiana, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Both reading the Goosebumps books, which I now think there was a Goosebumps book where everyone's hands fall off, and like the lady turns them into like piano hands where they like just play pianos, and I'm like, maybe I read that book and it really fucked me up. But as I said earlier, I like you were saying, Jason, it's tight enough and you get enough savory and sweet from each of the characters where you're getting a different taste scene to scene, and you were enjoying all of it, because you get a little bit of this doofus who needs a jacket to feel happy, and a little bit of this turkey farmer who you hate. And like the way that they're interacting with each other is interesting. And I think the first half of the movie is so compelling in just seeing a little peek into each person's life that you can see yourself in that situation. You're like, is there a needful thing that he would present to me that I would be like, I need this. This is my needful thing.
Oh, that's a good question. What's your needful thing?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. That's the thing that it twists
It's
my brain
the
a little bit.
internet. It's the internet.
Yeah, he's like, I've invented this new thing. It's called the interconnected web. Basically, you put in a directory here and you say, take this knife, and then he stabs the person over there. That's his interweb is just getting people to commit crimes on each other. Anyway, I don't know the answer to that question, that is part of the compelling nature of this movie is like these people don't even think that they need those things until they walk into the shop and they see it and they're like they have this moment where they're like, I can't leave here without this thing. What can I do to get this? And even the richest person in town, you know, they can pay all the money they want, but he's like, I don't need money. This is a gift, but I will ask for a favor. And you're like, oh my God.
A deed, if you will.
Yeah. It's extremely compelling. It's very interesting. And like you said, it's very weird. And the weirder, the better is my motto when it comes to movies. Nice. A lot of the time. Like if I'm weirded out by something, I'm automatically invested in it.
I'm going to keep that in mind.
And if anybody hasn't seen this movie, perhaps this movie is your needful thing that you need in your life because it's
us watching Stay Tuned is my new needful thing.
Right. And it sounds interesting.
Write it down.
I'd like to watch it. But as I was saying earlier as well, I do like that this movie is so morsely and it feels like you're just having like a bunch of little stuff that you're eating and it culminates in an explosion at the end. I would like to see this adapted into a show. It really gives me the vibes of what's that show? Midnight Mass, or is it Midnight Mass? The Netflix show with like the little island.
Oh yeah,
town. Yeah. It has a similar sort of tone in terms of like the setting and the interpersonal relationships and everybody knows each other.
If Castle Rock's still on, they could just do a season that's just Needful Things, and it would
definitely could. Yeah, they definitely could. Once they finish that main
say
story,
season
the
or
next
episode?
season is just the devil comes to town and he's like, I've opened this door. That would be a great idea.
2053.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
And
another 31 years.
I do highly recommend this movie to people that haven't seen it. If they, like you said, Jason, if they like John Carpenter, it does kind of have that sort of feel to it. Not necessarily in terms of visuals, but just the sensation you get when you watch a John Carpenter movie. It's here. You have that same.
It really reminded me of Mouth of Madness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the small town aspect for sure. But yeah, no, this movie makes me feel good when I'm watching it. I like everything about it and everything that's happening. As corny and cheesy as a lot of the stuff is in the movie, that is all for the better at the end of the day. Those things make me feel happy that I'm seeing it because it's like, the movies don't do this anymore. I love this stupid shit. And, you know, even if someone was to try to replicate it, it probably wouldn't work. So yeah, if I had to rate this movie, it would be one phallic little statuette of a dick versus the Holy Grail, and you have to choose. Or if you would go even further to say a pitcher of orange juice versus a pitcher of chocolate.
It's a room full of guns. A room full of guns out of a room full of boobs.
Don't give me
yeah, well, thank you guys so much. I'm very glad you both enjoyed it because I was not sure how you would feel about this movie, seeing as how both of you had never seen it before. It is old. It takes a little bit of patience, but I'm really happy you liked it. So,
before we close out the show, I would like to say that we have 4 viewers on Twitch right now.
What?
And the Twitch stream went off without a hit. So I look forward. Sorry, Instagram. We're going to be making some moves. People only kind of pop in and pop out of Instagram anyway. I'm looking forward to not having to set up Instagram. It's going to work a lot better when we fully integrate with Twitch, but there will be things coming down the pipe.
We still put some video or some posts on Insta, but
I would like to still represent the movies that we're doing through Instagram because that's where people know where to find us for now. But Twitch, I'm looking at it. It's about 3 seconds behind, and that's pretty fucking good for Twitch, gotta say. And I'm really looking forward to people interacting with us there. I'm gonna put it up on socials.
It's so we
I'm
can
gonna be
bleep
working-
our horrible racism.
Yeah. I also changed it so videos will stay up on Twitch. If there's a part in this video where I'm just like looking away, I was still listening to you guys, but I was making sure that when we turn this video off on Twitch, that it stays up for 14 days. So the video will be on demand for 14 days. We can clip.
What happens to it after that?
It goes away. We still have the Zoom saved.
Oh, right, we saved it.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But you can clip. You can go right into Twitch, and with Twitch tools, you can make clips.
Okay.
So if you're watching it back on Twitch and you see a clip that you thought was funny, clip it. It saves to the Twitch. It stays there forever. I'm pretty sure. I think you can clip the whole thing. You might be able to clip the whole video and have it stay as well. So who knows? We'll have to start fucking around with Twitch, but it's exciting.
Stay tuned, folks. We're coming at you with 7 different kinds of smoke, but that's a different movie.
And that being said, next week we are doing another Stephen King movie. So pay attention to Instagram. We'll give you some hints as to what.
What about the week after that, Stephen?
Another Stephen King movie.
And also, I'm going to make
2 more.
I'm going to be more vigilant and make a background for this that has more like information. You know, like we put like our Instagram or Twitch address, you know.
Right.
Instagram's not going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I will say that next week it's a little bit of a weird one. I remember really liking
Dreamcatcher?
Dreamcatcher? Yeah.
Are we allowed to tell the viewers? Oh, I already gave away the secret.
I don't give a shit.
Sometimes, well, when we did that Batman Returns, I was like, ooh,
that was a fun little game. Even I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I know what the movie is, and I still can't figure this fucking
right? I kind of had fun trying to like play around with that, so I might try to bring that kind of aspect back again.
Well, next week we're doing Dreamcatcher. It's a weird movie. I haven't seen it in a very long time, so I'm interested. Actually, I did watch it recently just to like dive in again.
I haven't seen it.
I've never seen it.
I was kind of stoned.
I'm with that guy.
I don't know if it was actually good or if I was just like, childhood.
Yay.
What?
Hey, do you guys have Netflix?
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say, for Jason and for Kaylin, I am Steven.
And for Kaylin and Steve, I'm Jason.
And for Steven and Jason, I'm Kellen.
And let me ask you guys something.
What?
Hey, you. Did you see this one?
I'll tell you what. If you see this one, I'll ask you later if you saw that one, because we gotta know ultimately. Hey, did you see this one?
Yes. But have you seen this one?
Oh, very good. That's a good Needful Things, man. I like it.